Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. We are coming to you live from inside of Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida. Finally, we have been having a bit of a bad luck spell with the technology today. So we're happy to finally be live. Coming at you, I am your host, Shannon Live, aka Small Press Shann, here to talk to you about all of this week and last week's Small Press and Indie new releases as we wind down your weekend. And so we are gonna be going crazy for a little bit. I love to do this first. Usually I like to show you your wine first, but when we have a double week like this, I always have to tell you that it's important that you get ready for some craziness because we are about to turn this way. We are about to go over like 80 something books. It's insane, it's absurd, but we're gonna do it, and we're gonna see how it works out. But before we do that, if we're gonna wind down your weekend, we of course need to actually have some wine to do that. So we are going to be drinking Vino Sin Lei. It is a Tempranillo, and of course if you watch the show you know that I love Tempranillos. So I'm very excited to see just exactly what this one is going to have in store for us. It does say that it has a red berry and tobacco and vanilla kind of all that like blended in. So obviously Matt's going to enjoy it, but let's see what I think. It smells nice. I'm trying to decide what that taste is. I don't feel like it's vanilla or tobacco, but it's not even like a spicy. Maybe? Does it say that there's... It just says red berries, so I don't know if there's a different red berry that we're tasting. I don't know. I would have thought that this had plenty of time to open up with a lot of flavors with all of our technical difficulties, but it seems like it's still going to have a long way to go to open up. Which is fine because we have a long way to go to talk about comics. So we're going to taste that at least 3 points in the night to see what it actually tastes like. But right now, it just kind of has the red fruit taste, and I'm not really sure that there's anything else to it. Anthony, are you getting something? No, right? Just like flat red fruit. Like I'm really curious to see. It is, we'll see. All right. I don't know. I'm like, it says it's a Rioja, it's a Crianza, it's a Tempranillo, it's all the things that I would expect would be very spicy and have tons of, well, the tobacco and the vanilla flavors, but...
Everybody said it was black cherry and vanilla and very peppery, and this has no pepper.
This has no pepper.
So...
We're going to see. I don't know. I got at least an hour of your time, everybody, so we'll taste it again and see what happens. See what's going on in this bottle. Before we get into the comics, so I just want to say there was a ton of cool events this past week at Bat City. We had Queer Book Club hosted by our awesome queer librarian and advocate Molly, who came out and we read Hazards of Love Volume 1, and Stan Stanley, that is a fantastic book. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story and that beautiful artwork. And they commented on our posts about it and said that they are working really hard on the final volume. And I promise you, Katie and I cannot wait for the volume 2 and 3. I know volume 2 just came out earlier this year, and so we have those on order for everybody who attended book club and wants to read it. We are getting some volume 2 ins because I got to know what happens. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Next month's Queer Book Club, we are reading When I Arrived at the Castle, which is so good. It's fantastic. Silver Sprocket re-put it out last year, and I cannot wait to share the book with other people. And that will be the last Wednesday of the month. We are also doing, we also had Creator Meetup this last week, which also was a ton of fun. We had so many incredible creators coming out. We had to take up like the back half of the store. There were so many people, and it was so good to see everybody sharing their work and giving feedback and growing and learning. And then we also had, of course, Local Comic Shop Day was yesterday. Shout out to everybody all around the world that participated in Local Comic Shop Day. That means so much to me as somebody who's on the planning team for Local Comic Shop Day. But a very special thank you to all of the people who participated in Bat City specific Local Comic Shop Day. yesterday. We had 14 creators who were here selling their work and trading zines and just making friends, having a blast. They braved the rain and the heat, both back to back all day yesterday, and they stayed out there for hours, and so it was really cool of them to be awesome and do that. And then we also had the launch of Marty's First Mates. Ooh, look, there's a copy right here that's signed. I'm gonna steal it. The launch of Marty's First Mates, which is a comic book and activity book that we made in conjunction with the Bradenton Marauders. And this is to help kids learn reading, writing, imagination, and baseball skills. And so this is actually, it's really cool because it does actually show Marty going through different places in the city of Bradenton to find some friends to be on this baseball team. So you learn about the city of Bradenton as well as the process of how baseball is played. This was drawn by one and only Anthony Pizzo, who is most likely in the comments if you're watching this live on Facebook right now. But shout out to Anthony for the amazing work that he did on this book, and shout out to the Bradenton Marauders for including us in this project, and a special shout out to Travis Persinger, who was the brainchild behind the concept of we should make this book about Marty. Thank you, Travis, for just coming to us and saying, like, y'all should do this. And then thanks to the Marauders for trusting us to do just that. It was so much fun. And thank you to Marty for coming out yesterday and signing, and to the Marauders and Karina for bringing out baseball caps for everybody and prizes and stuff. So it's really cool. And thanks to everybody who showed up. And thanks for everybody who showed up to Local Comic Shop Day in general. It was a huge, huge party. It is also our anniversary of not only moving to Bradenton, but of becoming Bat City. And so 7 years as a store, 3 years here in Bradenton. It was such an awesome party to celebrate with all of you. Was exactly the best way that we could imagine it, because it is, of course, why we do what we do. All right. I told you there's a lot of books, so I'm not going to talk much longer, but I will say the October calendar, I said it was going to come up last week. We had a little bit of a delay because we were possibly going to see some changes in events, but it will be up tomorrow because everything is solidified now. So we're going to skip all of that, and we're going to go straight into the 85 comics that I'm going to tell you about from the last 2 weeks. So, get your drinks, get your comfy pants and your snacks and your Labubu's if you're Katie, and get ready to talk about some awesome comics. We are going to kick it off with I Hate Fairyland issue 44 from Image Comics, and the creative mastermind that is Scotty Young. If you don't know I Hate Fairyland, this is the story of a young girl named Gert who gets sucked up into fairyland and is supposed to be going on a very quick adventure through a magical fairyland where she'll find a happy way home very soon. But 40 years have gone by and Gert has not made it home, and yet she has, and yet she hasn't, and all kinds of things. Anyway, she's stuck in fairyland and stuck being a small child. And if you know Gert, you know she's angry and she's violent and she's vicious. And in this issue, a young Ronin is looking to avenge their family for all of the damage that Gert caused to them, and obviously very Usagi Yojimbo style animation here. And they come after Gert, and when they meet Gert, Gert is not impressed with the fact that they have a backstory, because as far as Gert's concerned, she was there, so why does she need to hear your backstory? And they decide that they're going to fight, only for Gert to be very much impressed by this person's awesome fighting skills and decide that they should maybe build up a friendship instead. And we are going to see exactly how that plays out for the two of them in this issue. These more recent issues of I Hate Fairyland have been really good for people who want to jump in and not necessarily go all the way back, because you do kind of just get little one-offs. But I really hope that that character, who is also, in case you didn't notice, not a bunny, but a mushroom, I really hope that they actually do come to stay around for a while, because I love this character's design, and I love their relationship with Gert. So I hope that they're not just a one-shot character. All right, we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures issue 29. For fans of the Ninja Turtles cartoon of the 90s, this is definitely the book that you need to be picking up, because this is just like new episodes of the show coming at you. And in this arc, we have been following along as the pantheon of bad guys has been trying to figure out who their new leader should be. And obviously, Krang thinks it should always and forever be Krang, but this pantheon of evil doesn't know Krang and doesn't trust Krang and doesn't want him to be in charge. So they've all been taking their turns at trying to defeat the Turtles. And the Rat Queen, who is from a different dimension, has teamed up with the Rat King, who the Turtles fight quite often in this issue, to see if they can be the ones to control everything by defeating the Turtles. And so we get to see a nice little battle, and Mikey once again kind of coming in clutch with some great advice for the Turtles on how to fight against what's going on with these people. But is anybody going to actually defeat the Turtles and run the Pantheon? They're getting a little cocky that they've been able to beat all of these people. And you know what happens when these guys start to think that they're doing good? It doesn't last for long. And Master Splinter definitely gives them that warning constantly. They don't ever listen to Splinter. Void Rivals, issue 3 from Image, Skybound, and Your Inner John universe, which is the world of Transformers and G.I. Joe coming together. This is kind of your cornerstone piece of the puzzle that ties it all together, written by Robert Kirkman, who's kind of overseeing that Skybound universe of Inner John world. And in this, we've been talking about two warring planets that have always believed that they have to stay at odds, because if they don't, the world will be destroyed. And recently, we found out that that wasn't necessarily the case, or at least we were made to believe that. But in this issue, we kind of see that that may actually be the case, because as these two come really close together and start to solve all of their differences, and also start to have kind of a war where they are all in one place, we do see the universe start to get destroyed. And I think there's more to it than what, of course, they're leading us to believe. So do the Transformers included in this story. And so we're going to see where that leads us in this next issue, because right now, everything they were made to believe was proven to be not true. And now everything we've been made to believe is showing as not true. And so what is real and what isn't, I don't know. But if you're a Transformers fan, this is how you get Hot Rod. So you should be reading this series. We've got Witchblade issue 14 from Image Comics and the Top Cow imprint. I've been really loving this Witchblade. It's kind of a reboot series for it, giving her more of a modern take and less of just like that 90s comic kind of style. And so it's still Sarah. She still is a cop. She's still trying to take down all the bad people. She's still got all the Witchblade power in her. But we're seeing a new take on this character as she is, getting a little more involved in what's going on in the world. And the first 13 issues were kind of retelling that classic Witchblade story, bringing in the darkness and bringing in, the concept of she has to fight to have the Witchblade power and prove that she deserves it. And this is launching an entirely new story for us in that universe. And what I love the most about this issue is the narration switches between a couple of different people, and it really kind of gives us that Sarah's not the only one that has a distrust for the police force she works for, the Witchblade itself, and what's going on. And she's kind of having a lot of really important conversations with a teenager who discovers bodies that are being destroyed in the worst possible way, and what's coming for them, and what are these new demons that Sarah's going to have to face. This is a great jumping in point for a new story. But I really, really love this issue. And I really love the conversations that Marguerite Bennett had about just the way our society views certain people groups within it. And the way we use terminology to kind of take away power from those people. It was really fascinating conversation. We've got Dick Tracy issue 12 from Mad Cave. In this arc, we are seeing Dick Tracy take on a new set of bad guys, and that is the Summer Sisters. I had to work really hard to remember what they were called in this issue, because I just think of, every time I look at Mad, I think of what they're called in the strip. But they are called the Summer Sisters in this, and they are two sisters who are creating their own crime spree, as it were, through the city, but they seem to be going after specifically one, targeting one group of people, and that are people who work for Big Boy, and anybody that's on Big Boy's payroll they're going after. And while Dick Tracy is like, we need to stop them, he's also like, we need to figure out like what exactly is going on and why they're going after them, and like, are they also in danger even though they seem to be pretty capable of taking care of themselves. Meanwhile, Tess is doing her own investigation on what happened to Pat and why he was attacked. And when I first met Alex Segura in regards to this, or my first conversation I should say I'd had with Alex Segura in regards to this Dick Tracy book, I told him that the one thing I wanted was to see Tess Trueheart actually get the power and agency she deserves, and that I didn't want him to take that away from her the way comics so often do from the female characters. And he said Tess is the true hero of this book, and I feel like in this issue we really get to see how Alex meant that and what he wants for Tess, because she is like that powerful Lois Lane kind of character who's like, you may think that you're good, but I know more than you and you need to trust me. And I love seeing her and Tracy work together in a series. It's not something we've seen in a lot of the modern adaptations from them. We've got G.I. Joe from Image Comics, Skybound, and the Energon universe. This is wrapping up all those little side quest adventures that a lot of people have been going on. So we do get to see the fallout of Baroness and CoverGirl as they are in Paris and trying to take down Raptor and the people who are going after Baroness's parents. And we get to see just how that relationship is going to pay out. And is CoverGirl going to double cross Baroness? Is Baroness actually going to make it out of the pit? And then we also get to see, we had a secret return to the Mars fortress to kind of see if we could figure out what this extra energon lying around was and what it's being used for. And we did get to see Ratchet kind of discover some of that information. And if you recall, in the last issue, we actually saw over the course of the last 10 issues, we've seen Cobra Commander and Deathstroke been working together. And in the last issue, we kind of saw that come to a point where Deathstroke confronted Cobra because he didn't really trust him. And we get to see that conversation kind of play out more. And I now trust both of them less than I did going into their relationship before this issue. So, but if you are a fan of Transformers or G.I. Joe, you should definitely be reading this Energon universe, because it just keeps building this world more and more and giving you some really great character growth in how they all connect as well. Hornsby and Halo issue 10 from Image Comics in the Ghost Machine universe. The Ghost Machine imprint is killing it. We're going to talk about this for the next couple of books. But this one is so great. This is part of the Family Odysseys line, which is Peter Tomasi bringing us stories that are really great for all ages without feeling like they're made for kids. And Hornsby and Halo is definitely one of those. This is about two kids who are the same age, living in the same small town, and one of them is the son of angels and the other is the daughter of demons, and they are supposed to rule over heaven and earth, or heaven and hell, and kind of also possibly bring about an apocalypse. And so because of that, they were sent to earth to be raised by people who maybe wouldn't cause them to fall into the destructive nature that they were supposed to be destined for. Unfortunately for everybody in the world, these 13-year-olds are hitting their power at the same time as hitting puberty, and it is causing a lot of problems for them. And in this issue, they most recently have been caught by some paranormal activity alien investigators that have caught them on camera, and so they are both being hunted by these two different investigators, and so they once again have to team up to go after something they absolutely did not want to have to be a part of. And we do get to see that a little bit of their powers that they haven't used before, like new powers developing, and them also kind of falling into the trap of becoming exactly who they didn't want to be. And so we're seeing this definitely build up to some big cataclysmic event that is going to happen, and we're starting to see that sometimes nature versus nurture, there's more to it than we think. We've got Hyde Street, issue 9, also from Ghost Machine. Such a good book. If you are not reading Hyde Street, this is definitely one you need to jump in on. And this is such a good issue. If you don't know Hyde Street, it is basically that there is a place in the world where if you are a bad person, essentially you make a wrong turn and you end up on this street, and either your soul is claimed or you are given the opportunity by the scorekeeper to get a new place in life by claiming other people's souls, and you have to create a massive amount of soul claims to get out and back into the real world. Well, in the last issue, we introduced Dr. Ego, and we finally get to see his backstory. And so we go back in time with a young boy, and we get to see him kind of fall in love with the idea of cosmetic surgery, but we also get to see him learn from the very beginning the ugly side of that, and how the constant need to keep going once you've had some can lead to some major death and destruction. And we do see how that impacted his career when he was a plastic surgeon in the real world, and why the scorekeeper brought him over into kind of continuing that role on Hyde Street, and just the way he filters in these terrible people. And he seems to, much like, Mr. X-Ray, Dr. Ego seems to have a little bit of a moral center that's different and strange, and only kind of something that you would find on Hyde Street. But there is some little bits and pieces of him that seem to actually find good sometimes within people, and so it's such an interesting thing. The characters that Jeff Johns is creating in this book, and the multiple levels and the duplicity that he's giving all of them, is just really, really building it up. And at the end of this issue, he does tease that there is something actually coming that's going to take us more from Monster of the Week into that story, and where that's going to go, I don't know. I honestly don't, but I'm here for it, and I'm going to keep, traveling down Hyde Street until I figure it out. Silverhawks, issue 8 from Dynamite Comics. If you are a fan of classic cartoons from anywhere from the 60s all the way to the early 2000s, this is your time to be buying comics specifically from Dynamite, because they are making so many of your cartoon favorites. And Silverhawks is no exception. In this series, the old original Silverhawks team is in fact the old team, and they have retired, and things have been good for decades. But now suddenly their biggest foe, Monstar, is back, and the Silverhawks are too old and too incapable of actually fighting him. Something they learned very early on when they lose a huge chunk of their team because they try to go back to being Silverhawks and fighting. So they have been training a new team to take over, and that new team has had one midly successful adventure. And now, unfortunately for this team, they are about to have to take on an absolutely dangerous mission in which they are going to have to attempt to create a black hole prison style situation for Monstar. But they're only going to have 4 minutes to solve the situation and get out of there. And I honestly laughed, because I tell all of our kids in our class when they create these problems, you have to give yourself a time frame. And I love that they kept bringing up the time frame they would have in this book. And I was like, see that tension? It just builds naturally when you do that. But unfortunately for them, there's always a traitor in the midst, and where that is going to fall for the Silverhawks, we are just starting to see the dangers that lie ahead. Speaking of those classic cartoons in Dynamite, we have Herculoids issue 8, also from Dynamite. This was interesting because Herculoids is not a show I watch, and this series, in all of the previous 7 issues, has not really given us the backstory of what and who the Herculoids were. Other than just being they're the protectors of this planet. And so finally, we have gotten the backstory of the Herculoids and how they came to be. And we get that because if you have been following along, a supreme power being has come and kidnapped the son of the Herculoids and has taken over with the all-encompassing giant mind. And so he's telling us exactly how they ended up here, and the story of the original sentient life in the galaxy and the planet that they inhabited, and how they attempted they were trying to go and take over other planets and things like that. And when that backfired and destruction kind of came their way, they created this safe haven for all of their knowledge. And now they are supposed to be returning for that, and this is that entity trying to create that. And I don't really want to tell you about the second half because it is kind of giving us our big problem for what's going to happen. And so there are some big reveals in there because, again, this kind of is the first time we've gone from a monster of the week to the actual story of what's going to happen in the Herculades. So you could almost jump in on issue 8. Honestly, you probably could just jump in right here because it is the whole backstory and start from there. We've got the Seasons issue 8 from Image Comics and the Giant Generator. And if you know me, you know I absolutely love this series so much. It is so good. This is all about a family of 4 sisters whose names are Spring, Summer, Autumn, and Winter. And their parents have gone missing. And so the oldest sister, Autumn, went out to try to figure out what happened to their parents and sent back, before the series ever started, at the very beginning in issue 1, she sends back a message that a mysterious circus of crazy clowns of like hideous proportion are coming to kind of take over the town, and they're going to steal everyone's souls, and they're like, we have to do something about it. But of course she tells Spring, and Spring is the youngest and nobody believes anything she says. Summer has found herself trapped in her own ego, and that is in fact how these clowns kind of prey on you. They give you a mirror that shows you the thing you want most in the world, and you get trapped in this this vision of this perfect life to where you kind of just lose everything. And at the end of the last issue, Winter was caught by the clowns, and so Spring has been trying to figure out how to survive on her own. But what's interesting is we actually get to see Winter's story of being faced by those clowns. And Winter, who is always trapped in her own room, making her art and being essentially the alt goth girl in the story, is very much got a very different approach to this. And as the clowns kind of try to lead her down their path of destruction, it's so cool to see exactly what Winter does with the power if she is given to it is given to her, and also to see Spring at the same time trying to like wake Summer out from it and try to figure out how to stop these clowns. Rick has built a fantastic story world in this, and every issue just kind of goes a little bit further. And every issue, not only does he move the story forward through what's happening with the fight against the circus and the clowns, but just through the way each of the characters are developed and their personal journeys moves the story forward, even though they personally aren't even moving. And this does such a good job of doing that. Fantastic issue. And it took Winter from like my second least favorite to like possibly like my second favorite or favorite just from that story alone. So we'll see. All right, and then we've got Mark Spear's Monsters, issue 7 from Keenspot, and we've got this fantastic cover. I'm so excited about this. If you haven't been reading Mark Spear's Monsters, this is the only Mark Spear's complete interior book. So if you're collecting Mark Spear's covers, everybody, every month there's a new Monsters that's entirely filled with Mark Spear's covers on the inside. But this is it is a monster story, and so he's basically taken like the world, and Dracula is our bad guy, and he is up to no good. We have a slayer who is coming to stop them, and there's been a big kind of like hunt from the slayer trying to stop the Wolfman from doing all the things that Dracula sent him out to do. And none of that matters, because you can see in this page before I turn it that the thing that I now care most about in this story has happened, because somehow Mark Spears has turned the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland into almost a universal monster style character. And so congratulations, Mark Spears, for making me love monsters even more in the way you did that. But this issue opens up with the Hatter having a tea party with a bunch of things that are not happening in or with a bunch of people that aren't alive at the moment. And so he's having this tea party with like dead people, and he's telling them about the terrible things that are going to befall them and the hearts that need to be collected by the queen. And it's so cool. Meanwhile, while that's happening, we do get to see the Wolfman return home to Dracula, and Dracula's bride just looks so cool in Mark Spear's version. But the Wolfman returns home to Dracula, where Dracula is able to see what actually happened and learn that Slayer is out there, and there is something big and deadly coming, and all of the stuff that they have been trying to avoid so that they can continue this hostile takeover of the world is not going to go as well as they thought. And so we've got a lot of new players and some new characters in this issue, and I'm really excited to see where Mark is going with it, because again, he's bringing in not just classic Universal monsters, but just like any like public domain kind of characters even, and trying like pushing them in there, like the Hatter and the Red Queen and stuff, the Queen of Hearts, which I don't know which one he's actually going to use, but it's so cool, and I can't wait to see where he's going with this whole thing. All right, I'm going to take another drink before we get too far into the next pile, because the fives go on for a while. There are a lot of issue fives. So, oh, there's the spice now. It's not as peppery as it probably will be at the finish, but there's definitely some spice to it.
No jamminess.
No jamminess.
Thin.
It's very thin. Yeah, I saw you just, yeah.
Thick in color, but like no body.
It's not very, like, I don't know if 2019 wasn't a strong point for their grapes on this, but it's not a very strong wine. And it's not, yeah, there's not a lot to the flavor still. Like, now it's got a little bit of the pepper, but it seems like it lost the red berry that it had before. It's like you can only have one flavor at a time.
Go better with food.
It does say, and this is actually one that the type of, like, it's got a lot of foods on here that it says, but this is one that actually literally is listed as being good with casual foods. Like cheeseburgers and pizza are listed on the back here. So this is like, and like fried rice. So this is meant to go with foods that have more of a thick flavor to be kind of a lighter wine. So, you know, things to keep in mind. All right, we got a lot of number fives that I'm going to run through. There's a massive amount of Labubu's on the other side of this camera. But they all have little chains on there. So cute. It's okay. All right. We've got the conclusion of Dark Honor from Image Comics, and this is a G imprint. This story is this is such a unique thing in that this story takes place entirely through COVID, and it's kind of like one of the first like action crime stories to just be centered completely around that. But this follows a woman named Rain, whose father was the leader of the 100, which was a secret society meant to protect all of the crime families in New York. And a man named Gregor has come in and has taken out the leader of each of the crime families and is now trying to take out the 100. But as he attacks Rain's family, she steps back in and decides she's going to be a part of this crime family. And she actually has been doing her best to force her way in and kind of stop this situation. This issue is so like action hero movie. Like, you get to see Rain ride a motorcycle up staircase onto a rooftop and jump off the motorcycle to catch a helicopter a la Captain America. And I'm going to show you because it's so awesome to see her do it like in comic book form. But she is there. She's ready to fight for her family. And she has some big shoes to fill, because this has been something that's always had a secret society. And now that it's destroyed and she's kind of the only one left to do it, it's like, can she do it on her own? And where's she going to get the allies to do it? We've got Exquisite Corpses issue 5 from Image Comics and the Tiny Onion imprint. If you have not jumped into this book yet, this does have a trade paperback out for the first 4 issues now, so you can jump in. But this is the story of the ruling families, essentially the richest families in America, always have all the power, and they have used that power to determine who would be in control of the country for the ruling period of time. And the way they've always done it is they essentially go through and they find a town that they think nobody will miss if it's taken off the map, and they send all of their champions in to fight for them, and whoever's champion is left at the end of 24 hours, that family gets to rule America. And so we are actually following along in that town as this battle is happening. And it's sort of just a crazy wild battle royale. Hunger Games, whichever, country's story you want to put it in to know the analogy. But it takes place on Halloween night. And so it is also something that like people don't really even realize is going on at the time, because they're kind of just think everything's like Halloween related. Meanwhile, the sheriff and everybody have left town. The cool thing is that there is also a tracker in the back. So you have like your brackets, which I'm not going to show you because it would spoil who is not still in the game. But it does have a bracket, so you can follow along if you're like, you can pick who your champion you want to be, and which team you're kind of going for, which is it's fun to do and kind of have your favorite that you're going for. And it's always a great conversation on the Wednesdays when this comes out to ask people like, who are you wanting to win? And my answer is always a very cheating answer, but it's what I want to happen, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm not going to tell you because spoilers. Buried long, long ago, issue 5. This is the wrap-up of this book from Mad Cave. This is the story of a woman who is very much a danger to the people around her. This is about a woman who has 3 kids, and she decides to marry men, and she uses them kind of for their money, their power, whatever it is that she's trying to take from them. And then those men go missing, and something tragically terrible happens to them. And the daughters have started to figure out what exactly it is that's happening in this world, and they're piecing it together, and they learn of a mysterious force that is on their family farm, and that may be causing some of these problems. And with the witch in the woods, they have concocted a plan to possibly take out their mother. And in this issue, they're hoping to do something, anything maybe to help them. But that happened in issue 4. But I'm not going to tell you what happens in this one because I don't want to spoil it. So everything that happens past that first 3 pages is not a recap of the last 5 issues. So you don't get to see it because it is the conclusion, and it is a horror book, and anything I show you would spoil it. And also it's Matt's favorite books right now, so I'm not going to spoil it for him. So Anthony's like, spoil it. Captain Planet and the Planeteers, issue 5 from Dynamite. If you haven't been reading this is giving you a little bit of a modern take on a 90s favorite, so not too far back to go. But we are kind of redoing the Captain Planet story. And so in the first issue, we see the 5 Planeteers come together for the first time, and each of them already has their planet ring, which shows that they have their elements of earth, wind, fire, air, and heart. And they have been called together because Gaia is missing, and if they cannot save Gaia, the whole world obviously will be destroyed because she is the mother and power of the planet. And so they come together in the first issue, and they invoke the power of Captain Planet. And they lose the battle in the first issue. And because of that, one of the Planeteers decides that they just aren't good at fighting and they aren't meant to be a team, and abandons the team and decides to go off and kind of find a new team. And unfortunately for everybody, he goes straight to the bad guy. And so now we have Captain Pollution. And in this issue, our remaining Planeteers are trying to figure out how they can come together and work together without the power of Captain Planet, since they don't have all 5 rings, and stop Captain Pollution before he destroys all of New York City and possibly the world. And so you're going to have to dive in to see exactly how they do that. Shrouded College, we've got the Cold Witch issue 5 from Image Comics, and this is one of our little mini-series in the Shrouded College world, which is created by Charles Soule, which is a world that's kind of dealing with this evil organization that kind of takes from people and gives them everything they want as long as they're willing to sacrifice everything they have. And in this Cold Witch series, we've been following a woman who lost her husband, her beloved partner, to the Shrouded College. She is not a member of it, but he was, and because of that, he was destroyed. And she has decided that she is going to release the Cold Witch, a woman who lives in the woods and has the ability to freeze everybody, and was imprisoned by the Shrouded College. And she's decided she's going to release her in order to get back at them for destroying her husband. And in this issue, when she comes to seek her revenge, of course, the manipulative leader of of the Shrouded College is like, I can actually bring back the person you love if you swear yourself to us. What I really, really loved about this issue is that we finally got the history of what the Shrouded College actually is, and we learned that there's a bunch of essentially these evil like secret societies that are running different kinds of things with different kinds of power in our world. And so we got to see a little bit of how the Shrouded College plays into it and what it is. And yet the person who told us all of that seems to be the most lying, manipulative, unreliable narrator that I've seen in any of Charles Soule's books ever. And so I don't trust any of the information I just learned, but it is the first time I've learned it. And so I'm very excited. This series does kind of stand alone though, and the little bits and pieces that do touch into the Shrouded College are all explained. So if you're like, I missed the first book in the series, you could probably jump into this one and figure out if it's a universe that you would like. Slasher's Apprentice, issue 5 from Mad Cave. This is another one of those books, much like Buried Long Ago, that's ending this week, and so I really can't tell you too much about it, or show you much about it, because this would be highly spoilerific. So I'm just pretty much going to hold it on this page for the all time that I talk about it. But the Slasher's Apprentice is about a young person who is a podcaster who has an obsession with serial killers and decides that they want to get their favorite serial killer, who's the longest running serial killer in the game, to like have more notoriety, and is like, oh, the only way to do that is to change your whole motif. And so they become the Slasher's Apprentice and start trying to teach them, only for the slasher to get called out by the other big serial killer. We can use this one. The other big serial killer in the game, who's been taking out all the serial killers. And so in this issue, they are trying to figure out, the slasher and their apprentice are trying to figure out how to go after this person before it's too late, and they come after them by creating like a Saw style assortment of traps for them. And things happen. And issue 5, end of story. Read the whole thing. Figure it out. I'm not going to tell you. But will tell you that I love the ending. Invincible has the Battle Beast series out right now, which is on issue 5. And this is from Image Comics and your Skybound Invincible universe. This is not the end. I thought this was going to be a 5-part series. This is, in fact, not a 5-part series. So get excited, Invincible fans. There's still more to come. If you don't know, Battle Beast is a character from Invincible who has this overwhelming desire to die in an epic, glorious battle, and yet has never found anybody who could satiate that need or want, and is constantly looking for this epic battle. He has teamed up with somebody who is like, hey, don't kill me. I'm just a peon. You're not going to do anything. But if you come with me to the planet that I used to be the prince of, you can fight against the Juggernaut who has taken over my planet. And so while they have finally made it to this planet, we also finally get the backstory to who this little would-be peon is and how he lost his planet and everything that went down. And it was such an interesting backstory and such a contradictory story to gives us such a different duality level to what if the Battle Beast is. And we also get a little bit more about Battle Beast and why he is so vengeful and rageful. And so we did get a lot of character growth in this issue, but we also finally come face to face with that Juggernaut in many different ways, and we're going to see where that battle could lead us. The Pale Knight, issue 5 from Mad Cave. This story, I will say, this story took a couple issues to grow on me. At the very beginning, I was like, I don't know if this is the story for me. But now that I am this far in, I am definitely loving it. And this issue gave us so much more. But this is about a story of a man who is a knight who decides to return home because the plague has broke out, and he's worried that his family is lost. And when he returns home, his son is deathly sick with the plague, and he attempts to try to save his son's life by making a deal with Death. And Death is like, you must go out and kill this good knight who I cannot claim. He is somebody who he remains untouched by disease, and no matter what, I cannot kill him. And so This guy has said, okay, yes, I will do that, and he's gone on this mission, and he's had his ups and downs throughout it, and his squire seems to absolutely hate him, and we see that a lot in this issue, because they come across a place where people seem to be completely untouched by the plague, and all they are doing is partying and having the time of their lives, and the squire really wants to stay there and enjoy this time with them, but that is not going to necessarily go the way he wants it to. Meanwhile, we do get to meet some new characters and learn some more about people who have been possibly causing more plague problems than they need to. And so we're seeing a lot of conversation in this issue about what makes somebody good and what makes somebody bad, and who really deserves the punishments that they get. This is not the end, which I'm really excited about. I hope that this goes on a couple more issues, but I think there's just one more. Yeah, just one more, and we're going to find out what exactly happens with that night. Sleep issue 5 from Image Comics. This is a story about a young boy who, is just trying to live. I guess he's like college age. He's in his 20s. And he's trying to live just a normal life and like have his job where he just goes to work every day and live his best life. But he starts waking up to find that he has been at the scene of a lot of attacks that seem to be monster attacks, but somehow he always wakes up at the sight of them, and he's recently decided that he may very well be the person who is causing these attacks, but he doesn't know what kind of demon or monster is inside of him. Now that his town is being fully ravaged by this monster, only his best friend seems to be on his side and being willing to help him, and so they are starting to piece together in this issue what could possibly be happening with him and where he could possibly go to seek help for something like this and what may come of it. There is so many great uses of color, like the book being completely black and white. Up until this issue, the only color we've seen in it was red, and in this issue we get a little bit of blue in there, and I'm really curious if we're going to see some more colors that are going to have that same level of impact. And also, I still don't know what's happening and what this person is, and so I'm so intrigued by that as well. We've got the wrap-up of Far Down Below with issue 5 from Mad Cave. We had so many Mad Cave books wrapping up this week. This is the story of two boys in the 80s who go out to ride their bikes and look for some fun and end up going into a house that is, some people in the neighborhood believe is haunted, but one of the boys is like, it actually just is my family house. It's where my grandpa used to live and my dad used to live, and nobody goes in there anymore. Well, so they decide to go in, only to find themselves going down, far below the house into a hollow earth kind of situation. And the last 4 issues have been them trying to figure out their way out of that situation and beyond these dinosaurs and different things. And in this issue, we kind of get to see how that's going to pay off for them and how it's going to pay off for their grandfather. And we get to see poor Mrs. I'm not sure. I'm just going to call her Mrs. Kravitz. That's not her name, but she's the nosy neighbor. We get to see exactly just how bad that works out for her and her nosiness as everything happens. I'm not going to show you, again, the other half of this, nor am I going to tell you how it all wraps up, because if you want to read it, you got to check it out. And if you're somebody who is enjoying, like, Ultimate Wolverine or any of those things, Chris Condon is writing this too, so check it out. We've got Black Ritual, the Book of Nyx, issue 5 from Image and our Spawn universe. This is such a cool book in our little witchy world here. Nyx is a witch who has returned to New York City feeling like she was called there, only to find out that there are a bunch of witches who have gone missing, and they're like, you know what, you owe us for all the things you did, so you can check into this and see what you can find. She has decided that she has found the witch hunter, and he is not the person that's making the witches disappear, and so she's trying to figure out what the best thing she can do is, and so she decides to search for the historic, mysterious Ivory Conclave, which sends her on a massive adventure. And in that world that she goes to see these mysterious witches, like essentially the first witches of all time, she learns there's something going on in her own life and something that's connecting her to all of this danger and the things that are to come. And so she is going to have to face that in the future. I'm really excited about this. I don't know you don't have to know anything about Spawn to read this book. It doesn't really have anything to do with Spawn at all. Nyx is just a character in there. But we also figured out what the name of the book means in this issue. The Book of Nyx actually comes into play, which I love, when the title actually seems to be relevant. And speaking of our Spawn universe, we also have Bloodletter issue 4. This is also somebody in the Spawn universe who has some magical powers, but this person has a vengeful vendetta against Al Simmons and has kind of been trying to take them out. And in this issue, we actually do get to see them come face to face with Spawn and have kind of that conversation of, is this, is this who you want to be? And, Al's kind of like, look, I know what I'm not alive. You're not going to defeat me by killing me. That's not what's going to happen. But you also need to realize, you are going to defeat yourself if you become this terrible person. And if you hate me because you think I'm a bad person, then why would you want to be just as bad as me? This whole issue is mostly just Al trying to to stop that fight with that conversation. This is one of the only Spawn extended universe books that actually has had Al Simmons' Spawn show up in it so far. So it was really cool to actually see him in one of the books. But if you're a fan of Spawn, I say this all the time, or if you're not, but if you're a fan of Spawn, you should definitely be reading all these books because they are expanding your universe. And they're bringing back characters who were one-off characters or smaller characters in the 90s with those original Spawn issues. But also, if you're not a fan of Spawn, these books are kind of like the Hellboy universe books, where it's oh, I kind of just want to check out something cool in that universe, but I don't know if I want to read all 378 issues of Spawn. You don't have to read those to jump into these miniseries that have been coming out. Whatever Happened to Crimson Justice, issue 4 from Mad Cave. I love this because this is one of those books where we have the old retired superhero, but he doesn't automatically get superhero good again, which I love. But this is about a superhero who retired, who became a barista, opened his own coffee shop, and now he's in his 70s, 80s. I think he's in his 70s, and his ultimate villain has returned, and he's got to figure out exactly how to be the only one that can stop him. Everybody's the police can't stop him. There are no other heroes in this universe, at least not anymore. And so it's you're going to have to come out of retirement. And he's seeing the ghost of his old partner, the Robin to his Batman, essentially. And he's you need to get out there, you need to fight. And when he tries to do it, he doesn't have superpowers. He was just a vigilante. So this is a 75-year-old man going out there and trying to fight bad guys. And it is not working for him near as well. And we get to see some really cool twists and turns in this issue, which really just builds out that universe a little bit more. But it's definitely a cool way to do one of those superheroes returning kind of moments. Are we going to take another drink? I'm intrigued. All right. They're drinking Vino Sinlay. Let's see if it opened up some more. I got more pepper.
I got more lemon.
Lemon?
Uh-huh. I think the whole thing's soured.
It is I do think it's a sour wine. I don't know if it's supposed to be. Did anybody, in your review, say anything about it being citrusy?
No.
No,
they say black cherry and plum.
It's definitely not black cherry or plum. Black cherry wines are so much thicker in taste than this. Yeah, this is we're not getting the flavors that they express from it. I wonder if 2019 just didn't have the same power of its fruits. Maybe. I don't know.
So yeah. To open another bottle of wine.
Just have to do a different one.
That one's bad.
Well, it's it's still wine.
I've seen people on shows throw out full bottles of wine and be like, well, this stinks.
Well,
the whole thing stinks.
That's a show where people sponsor their wine for them.
Hey, that's true.
So if you want us to throw out bottles of wine and we don't like them, you too can sponsor our show and give us free bottles of wine, and we'll happily talk about them. So, Wine Down Your Weekend. This is year 5 of Wine Down Your Weekend. Just saying. It's a 5-year-long show. It's been going a while. Totally could use some people giving us some wine. All right, we're going to talk about comics, though. They Choose Violence, issue 4 from AWA. This series, man, this series goes to some places. So if you haven't read this series yet, this is about 3 girls who are kind of tired of the fact that, like, justice isn't being served, and this is, they're like that nobody's doing what they need to do. We're seeing people being killed for racial situations that should be handled by the police, and the police are not handling it, and they're tired of it. One of them's in the law department, and she's not seeing it, and so, like, one of them's a lawyer. One's a cop, one's a paramedic, and they're all like, we're not seeing any of this work actually, like, coming out. We're seeing people continuously just be like, these hate crimes continue, and so they become a vigilante group themselves and decide they're going to take them all out. And they've been doing that just fine for, like, a couple of years, and now they got caught in the last issue, and some bad stuff happened, and in this issue they've figured out a way around some things, and they're trying to go after some people now, and I keep trying to skip over pages that are too spoilery. But they have kind of figured out who may be behind everything that has been happening to them and the people who are coming after them, and also kind of the corruption in America. Like, they figured out a lot of situations here, and so they're like, we're gonna solve this, and we're gonna put it all together right now. But what's interesting is that they learned that everybody has a story, and so in this issue we actually do get to see the backstory of this person who may or may not be the person behind everything. And it really, really complicates the whole entire process. And it's like, ooh, are we going to kill this person? Are we not going to kill this person? Are we going to be in trouble? Is the world not what we thought it was? There is so much that this issue unfolds that, like, you almost need to read it twice, because you're like, wait, hold on. When we came into this issue, I was on team this, and I'm still on team this, but I'm also, like, not really sure where this is going, and, like, where's this person, and who did they come from, and how did they get there? And, like, is there somebody above them that we should be taking out? There is so much to this. Literally, this is what you do when you write a story. The amount of, like, when we talk about, like, you should put a ton of your plot, and it should have multiple problems and all kinds of stuff. This issue just solidified that. This was like, hey, everybody's got multiple levels of problems, and when you put all those multiple problems together in one story, wow, it's crazy. And I don't know how they're gonna finish it in one issue, but they're gonna try. We've got Never Wars issue 4 from Amp Comics. Yesterday I saw a trailer for Never Wars, and I don't watch trailers even for comics because I'm going to read them all, but I have been reading this, and it has been my pick of the week most of the time. And I saw a trailer and was like, oh my god, I love this book even more than I think I do. Every time I see something about it, makes me happy. If you haven't read this yet, this is a series where the worlds of Wonderland, Oz, and Neverland are all part of the same, alternate realm. Essentially, they're just, like, different places within that other side of the realm. And Fairy Tale Land, like, Fairyland is also one. And there is a war that has broken out, kind of led by the Jabberwock, and it is spreading from Wonderland into Neverland, into Oz. People are being corrupted. Power is shifting. Characters that you know and love are becoming bad guys. Characters that you hate are becoming good guys. The world is a strange and deadly place. And in this issue, a bunch of Wonderlanders attempt to go to Fairyland to see if they can get help, because there is something within Fairyland that will help them actually stop the Jabberwock and possibly save the day. But we learned that Wonderland has a history of attacking the other places, and nobody wants to help them. But now it may be too late, because this is one of those, like, the enemy of your enemy is also your enemy kind of situations, because if they don't help them, Fairyland may be the next one to be destroyed. I love this universe. I love the way they understand the characters. I love the characters they bring in and how they bring them in. I love the way they're twisting and turning everything. This book is so good. And the creative team on this is like Don Hanfield's writing it, and Marcelo Basile is illustrating it, and they are just crushing it all the way around with this series. I love it so much. This was Amp's big like first book, and they launched it with 3 different issue 1s to tell every piece of the puzzle story, and man, has it been so good. So good. The Killer, Affairs of the State, Volume 2, Issue 4 from Boom Studios and Archaea. This is, if you saw the movie The Killer, this is based off the same, that is based off this graphic novel series. And so this has been going on a long time. In this volume, our assassin is on a new mission, and he is trying to he's supposed to be waiting and lying low until his intelligence like can get him exactly the person he's supposed to be taking out. But unfortunately, while he's doing that, he learns that the people connected to what he's supposed to be stopping have been human trafficking children. And even though he's always been, one to follow the rules of what he's supposed to be doing and kind of just taking the job that he's on, he cannot abide by that happening. And so he has started doing his own surveillance and kind of figuring stuff out. And in this issue, when he finally gets to the point where the person that he is tracking is finally available, he sees a cross point between the people he's been tracking and the person he is supposed to be following and taking out. And in this issue, he kind of goes for one of those few times where he actually goes beyond what he's supposed to be doing and makes his own choices, and he gets in some mess. And we're going to see how he gets out of that mess, hopefully, in issue 5. Maybe not. I don't know. But I just love, this is a French comic, and as with all French comics, it's slow-moving. It's got great storytelling. It just has so much thought and interest behind it. And if you haven't read it yet, please do. It's so good. And, if we could get volume 1 back in stock, that would be great. Not of the Affairs of the State, but like the actual volume 1 of The Killer. Just, throwing that out there. Lazarus Fallen, issue 4 from Image Comics. Greg Rucka has come back to the Lazarus world with an all-new series. You can kind of jump in, even if you didn't read it, and piece it together. But this story is all about a world where basically like the rich people of the world have figured out how to essentially make themselves some champions who fight for them. These people who are immortal and live forever. And the main guy, evil bad guy as it were, had daughter that he turned into one of these people, and then she kind of went off on her own and broke free, and so he created another one, and that one was like left with the other sister. And so now these 2 girls are free, and they are trying to kind of be a part of the resistance and take down these bad people. And in this volume, we are seeing just that. We're seeing them on this team with the resistance, and we're seeing their father, creator, whatever you want to call him, trying to come back and grab them and force them back into this life of working for him. And we are seeing this big battle kind of come to fruition in this series, and we are also seeing just those crumbling pieces of this weird society that we've created kind of come tumbling down. News from the Fallout, issue 4 from Image Comics. This is such a cool concept and such a cool book. Basically, it is 1954, and we are testing our weaponry, and one of the people in charge decides that he's going to actually tell everybody to kind of stand around for it, and because of that, they all end up mutated, and we get kind of a cool zombie story from this experience. And it's kind of been really cool because it is all done in these like shadowy images, and so you don't really necessarily know what you're getting from the story. And this one, much like some of the other ones, we can kind of see a little bit of before the attack, and we get to learn about a character, and then we fast forward back into the post-attack world, and we're seeing these people try to like stop through this zombie apocalypse and try to go through all of this stuff. And it's a small town, and it's great because in this issue they're like, okay, we need to get away, let's get in this truck. And they get in the truck and it doesn't have gas, and they're like, why doesn't your truck have gas in it? And the guy's like, I only go from my home to the cafe. Like, I don't need a lot of gas. I didn't think about running from zombies, like, essentially, these monsters. And so they decide the only thing they can do is go to the next town over, and the next town over is a ghost town. And we are seeing some, already some setup between the dead and the dying. It's such a cool concept. There's this really awesome back matter in it where you get letters and stories and dockets from different cases and stuff. And so there's so much to this universe that goes beyond just what you see in the panels. Gehenna Naked Aggression issue 4 from Image Comics. Thought this was going to be the end, but guess what? We're going to see some more of this character, I'm sure. But it's all about a woman who is trying to get revenge on a person who attacked her husband, and she's trying to just get her own name back and her own experience back. And she ends up kidnapping this kid who has like this rich father, and she's like, I'm gonna take this kid and I'm not gonna let anything happen to you, kid, but like I'm gonna ransom you essentially for the money. And really not even for the money, I really just want my freedom, because essentially my account, like I now have a debt to this person for damages past. And so she's just trying to get away, and it's just a giant action movie. And then we have this other group of assassins who are coming after her per the request of the people in charge of this young boy's life. And so she is trying to get away from them and also keep the kids safe. And I love it because the kids kind of become like her sidekick instead of like the person she kidnapped. And so they've built this really fun friendship. And I love like he's like helping her to attack the people who are technically coming to take her out so that they can save him, and kind of just wants to be along on the ride. And so it's a really fun adventure that hopefully we're gonna see some more of.
The internet says the wine is bad. It says that all the flavors that you're tasting are bad.
Oh.
It's spoiled. That is all the flavors. A sour, vinegary, almost a wet cardboard
kind
of a taste.
That means the wine is spoiled?
That is what wine tastes like when it is bad.
I actually, after reading the back where it said that we had the hamburgers and that goes with hamburgers and pizza and fried rice, I think we've had this before and it did not taste like this.
Yeah. And
so I agree, because I don't think that there's multiple wines that have this exact kind of back label that would say that it goes with pizza and burgers. I don't know a lot of wines that claim that they go with pizza and burgers. So yeah, I'm not surprised that says that means it's bad. So apparently this bottle is spoiled.
First time in 5 years.
First time in 5 years we've had a spoiled bottle of wine on the live stream. So
mine just tastes like pure lemons.
Mine just tastes like pepper, like aggressively, but nothing else after that. Like then it's kind of sour, so that makes sense. So, well, it's up to you if you need to go get another bottle of wine. But I have 40 more books to go. So
we're not even halfway.
Yeah. We've got Endless Night issue 4 from Mad Cave. This is the wrap up of this series for now. We may get to see a couple of more, we may get to see a new volume with these characters coming back, or at least these characters coming back to their own series. But this is the combination of Revolution 9, Exit City, and Hour of the Wolf, or the Woven Heart world. And basically a guy decides he wants to become the ultimate bad guy and join this mysterious society of the Secret Nine. And he decides, they tell him the only way he can do that is by bringing this deadly clock into the world that is going to take out this hacker who is trying to destroy their information. And he does just that. And now the Woven Heart team from Hour of the Wolf, our leader from there, has to come in and try to fight this battle for that mysterious relic, because that's their job. Exit City detectives have to come in as the people who are going to be doing the investigating as police officers, because murders are happening in the area. And Velveteen from Revolution 9 comes in because she is protecting the hacker and is the one trying to take down this secret organization. And so in this issue, they are all working together to kind of stop this ultimate bad guy that is happening or not this ultimate bad guy, this singular bad guy. And we may get to see them come together again, because, you know, just because you take out one doesn't mean there's not 8 more to go in the Secret Society of 9. We've got Blue Palo Verde issue 4 from Mad Cave. This is the story of a woman who is released from prison and wants to figure out what happened to her elderly dad who was in need now that she's returned home from jail. And when she goes to find him, she finds out that he's gone to this mysterious town. And when she gets to the town, everybody is really weird, and she finds out that there's kind of like a cult-like obsession with a goddess that they all believe in, and the police sheriff seems to be the leader of this mysterious cult-like experience. And so she is trying to save her dad from it. And while that process is happening, the doctor who's been taking care of her dad and her dad lead her into this wooded area where she is forced to come face to face with the goddess. And what is really interesting in this issue is that she likens the experience and the experience of coming face to face with the goddess as being the same as doing the drugs that she once did, that led her into the addictive state that led her to prison in the first place. And so she's kind of one of the first people who can see that being in a cult and having like the drug addiction aren't that much different. Meanwhile, the sheriff of the town is very vengeful and angry about the fact that he is falling out of favor with the goddess. And so we are seeing those two stories parallel in this issue as they work through who's going to have the favor of the goddess and what's going to happen in this place. Biker Mice from Mars, issue 4 from Oni Press and our Nacelle universe. This is our second Biker Mice from Mars series. We had the mini that was 3 issues last year, and this is an ongoing series. And this actually gave us some really great backstory to Dr. Hamaki, who they have been recently working with, because if you haven't been following along, basically the Plutarchians have taken over Mars, and they're trying to destroy all of the different Martians, and the Biker Mice are kind of the only ones who are standing against it. They're trying to get the military to come on their side. Well, in this issue, they have had this Dr. Hamaki with them, and allegedly she can help them save the day, except for the Plutarchians are coming after them. She ends up telling us the backstory of her own planet and the thing that she created, the invention that her and her husband created that was supposed to help make the world a better place by being able to help with great environmental control, and now how that has been manipulated by multiple planets, including Earth, to create a terrible experience for everybody. What I love about this is the first time truly in the Nacelle verse that we've actually seen some crossover, because we actually, and they're on this page, I'm going to leave it here for a second, but we actually get to see the RoboForce characters come into the story with Dr. Hamaki and her backstory, and how that RoboForce that we had in the past, we had that 3-part mini, we get to see how those characters and her story cross over, and how that all connects to what's happening in Biker Mice from Mars. So really cool to start to see the Nacelle verse come together. We've got Risk issue 4 from Black Box Comics. This is the story of a woman who runs a gambling ring, but on top of that has actually does a little bit more than that in her life. A lot of nefarious operations, but also a lot of operations for good. And she has created a system that is called Risk, and that kind of like AI within her brain helps her to take her natural affinity for determining the risk in a situation and actually be able to really fill out what those odds are going to be. And in this issue, she's been going for an attempt to actually like stop this like bad stuff from happening, and they've been trying to break into a facility to try to gain access to this, but her risk ability is gone. Her brain, something has fried her brain. So not only is her actual like risk, like AI essentially that she's created, her algorithm is dying, but she's going to have to actually rely on her natural instincts in order to see it. And so we're going to see if that's still just as good as it used to be. Ghost Pepper, issue 3 from Image Comics and the Skybound imprint. This is the story of a young girl who is in like a post-apocalyptic wasteland kind of situation that has had new leadership kind of rise up. They're building like this new world in it, and all kinds of interesting things have come. And then from this world, which we're going to talk about as we unfold this, but she runs a food truck, and her food truck never really does this, like it always does really well, but it never has like a permanent spot because all the other people hate her and kind of run her out of town. And in the first issue, she was joined by a man named Ash, who's kind of like a weird loner who has no idea who he is or what his, like, you know, his memories are. He just seems to kind of have all of this power and nobody really knows where he comes from. So she took him in, and he is now on her journey with her. Well, we have learned that in this world, there was actually a massive bad guy who was attacking everything, and a great person stepped in and saved the day, except the person who stepped in and saved the day is not the man who claims to be that, who is now the ruler of the world. And he very much doesn't want to see that Ash is back in this world because Ash has some ties to everything that actually happened. And so we have two big stories happening at the same time, and those paths start to cross over in this issue as Ash's presence on the food truck gets to be well known across the world as some of the other chefs start to attack her. So we're going to see where that goes for them as the story unfolds. Space Ghost issue 3 from Dynamite Comics, and again, our classic cartoons coming back. In this series of Space Ghost, this is volume 2. We had a mini-series that kind of taught us everything about the Space Ghost universe and his team that he would take in. And now we're kind of just going on different adventures with that team. And so in this issue, they have found this Viking who's frozen in space and time, and they decide to thaw him out only for him to be a bad guy who is definitely after death and destruction and all kinds of terrible things. And so the only way that they can end up trying to stop that is by going to Space Ghost's kid sidekick's grandfather, who doesn't know that they are Space Ghost's kid sidekicks. And so they go to him and they're looking for that assistance, and the Viking ghost, he's not a ghost, the Viking, frozen Viking bad guy starts to attack them and chase after them. And so it's all about trying to figure out how to capture this guy that they also kind of helped unleash in the first place. And just seeing how all of these different just seeing these kids who just met their grandfather for the first time and just learned about him, having to see them like hide their identity now that they're secret people and come up with their secret Space Ghost partnership names is really cute. But also just Space Ghost being asked if he is their dad and what's his relation to them, and just seeing that beautiful like parental moment from Space Ghost is really cute. We've got Catacomb of Torment issue 3 from Oni Press and EC Horror. Are you calling that wine the Catacomb of Torment? Yes. It really is. It's really sour, guys. It's really good. It's really getting it. Now I know what bad wine, like wine that's gone bad, tastes like. That's great. Catacomb of Torment is one of our EC horror anthologies, and so we've got 3 stories in here. The first one is called Marigold Inn, and it's all about a guy who his car breaks down and he goes to stay in this inn, but everything in the inn seems to be kind of related to things in his life. Like he sees people who quote things that his dad always told him. He sees people who remind him of himself in childhood. His bedroom is somehow there. All this different stuff. And he's being asked to he's invited to watch a movie that night. And when he goes to watch the movie, it's this horrible thing that happened. Somebody who attacked a man on the street. And he learns what the connection to that man he has is and what the connection to everything he has in the inn is. And it's such a cool, very easy story of reveal. And then the second story is called Intrusive Thoughts, and it's all about a woman who never wanted to be a mom, but suddenly finds herself having a child and is very disappointed to learn that her husband, who's like, oh, we're in this together, becomes somebody who is immediately like, no, you're staying home with this kid. Also, I have to be at work in the morning, so you have to get up with the kid in the middle of the night, and you need to make dinner, and you need to have dinner ready the second I get home, and why is the house messy, and why can't you look good? And he's just really rude to her, and she starts to have intrusive thoughts of hating the baby and starting to want bad things to happen to the baby because she believes that that's what ruined her happy life. And after going to talk to a therapist, she learns the truth about some things, and I'd love to see how that one works out. And then the last story is called Couple Therapy, and it's about a couple who absolutely seems to not be able to get along anymore, so they go to stay at a retreat. And while they're there, the woman who is in charge, the therapist in charge, kind of puts them into some really deep exposure therapy that helps them learn that if you can't work together, you can't work at all. A great issue of Catacomb Informant. We've got Curse of Shirley Johnson, issue 3 from Image Comics in the Spawn universe. Shirley Johnson is a young girl in the Spawn world who is, they believe people believe that she is this ultimate weapon and she has this secret magic, and that's what we've been told for the last couple of issues. And there's some Hellspawn kind of connected people who have been keeping Shirley safe, only for us to find out in this issue that Shirley, like, they no longer believe that Shirley has that power necessarily, and so now they're kind of coming after her for completely different reasons. Or maybe they're just trying to get her out of the way entirely. But in this issue, we also get to see the people that she's connected with kind of expose a little bit more about who they are. And we also get to see one of the spawns actually come forth and kind of talk about what Shirley could actually be and what the connections all the people are to her, and why it all matters, and where this is all leading towards, and what's going to happen in their future. And so this is really that turning point in the Curse of Shirley Johnson, and kind of getting us a little bit more info into who all of these characters are. The Toxic Avenger, issue 3. This is the ongoing new series from Ahoy for the Toxic Avenger universe. This one actually is supposed to take place before Toxic Crusaders starts. So this is going to bring us into a point. That is the one that I said. Yes. So this is all about a woman who creates a sentient being, and I'm going to see it's called Sentiac. Sanction, eliminate, neutralize, terminate invasive animals cheaply. And so he is created by this scientist, and she's like, see, he's going to figure out where the invasive species that I hid in this room is, and it's like some creepy bug. And unfortunately, he evolves very, very quickly, and immediately is like, oh, anything that's bad, like you have cancer, sir, that's bad, that's an invasive species. Oh, you have this, that's bad, that's invasive to your body. And so he immediately like goes into attack mode and trying to take out all of the humans on the planet. And he realizes that these Toxic Crusaders exist, and so they obviously, like, this space is going to be the worst space for invasive species, which doesn't even count the fact that, like, there's all the bug people on there. He's just, like, going after the toxic mutated ones. And so he shows up to the town and tries to actually take on the Toxic Crusaders, only to have Toxie's mom have a lot to say about the situation. So it's really cute to see how he, like, what he learns and how he evolves from there, but also how this kind of shows us where the Toxic Crusaders started to work on their powers before they actually become the Toxic Crusaders in that issue 1. And so it's really cool to see them do that. But this is definitely giving us another character who will probably end up showing up a lot in some, or at least again, in Toxic Crusaders at some point. And so it was a nice way to introduce that and tie it all into the world, but also give us a little bit more of all of the bad stuff that is going on in Tromaville at the time. This ends tonight, issue 3 from Image Comics. This is wrap up question mark for now of this series. There's definitely going to be more to come of this story. But this is about a group of 2 sisters whose father is a part of like a secret society. They've all been like, one of them has been trained forever to be the person who's kind of in this league of like women assassins, and it is the other sister's, like the other sister doesn't know anything about it, and so they take her out, and they've been like, in the last issue we had the greatest like episode of issue of that was essentially the hangover for all of these girls to go out to this bachelorette party, and now as they're trying to kind of wrap up that experience, the evil villains that have been coming after them, these other mob bosses and other people who've been coming after them, are now actually catching up with them. And this is a battle royale between all of these women, and it gets pretty crazy and pretty wild really fast. This is another one of those that's like a super action movie kind of situation, but we get to see these girls like really fight it out in this one, and also learn a lot more about the world that they're in, and kind of see how that could build maybe even an ongoing series with these characters in the future. Love Struck issue 3 from AMP Comics. I love this book. I love this book so much. It is so good. Again, because it's just one of those like late 90s, early 2000 rom-coms. I keep saying that it reminds me so much of Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley, and it still does. But this is the story of a woman who shows up to meet her boyfriend for lunch only to find out he's going to propose, and she absolutely does not believe in love or marriage and is actually like kind of trying to break up with him. And in the process of trying to get away from that terrible experience, she ends up running over Cupid with her car, and while he's in human form, and unfortunately for her, that human is dying, and so she is going to go to jail if he dies. And the only way she can save him is by helping the actual like god Cupid in more of a ghost form actually solve all of the like romances that he needs to create. And this is kind of something that's come down from like Aphrodite. She's like, look, I will make y'all a deal. I'll save him and I won't let him die if you can satisfy like this many love matches. And so this girl who absolutely hates love has to go on these experiences. Well, in this issue, after she goes to eat lunch with her dad and his 24-year-old girlfriend, she learns that her dad has an unrequited love, and that there was a situation where something terrible happened when he was originally supposed to get married to the love of his life. And Cupid is like, you have to help me solve this by putting your dad with the woman he was supposed to be with originally. And so now she not only has to believe in believe that she can make love happen, but she has to believe she can make it happen for her complete womanizing, like terrible father who she absolutely doesn't even like as a person. And so absolutely hilarious experience in this one. Once again, like AMP is just killing it right now with all of their starter books, and this one is, it's so good. The Voice Said Kill issue 3 from Image Comics. Also just love looking at the craziness that Vanessa Del Rey creates in this book. But this is the story of a woman who is a park ranger in the bayou in Louisiana, and everybody gets sick from the food that they eat at a party, and so she's the only one on at work, and everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong. At the very beginning, this group of like moonshine people, the son of them kind of goes crazy, and she has to fight against him, and some bad things happen. And then when she comes back and she's trying to just pretend like nothing happened there, she ends up seeing that a murder has occurred, and it's a group of poachers who are now trying to like get through and get through the swamps, and then they're gonna be dealing drugs, and they need her to get them through like to the cartel that's gonna be bringing them all this stuff. And so she is trying to, like, they are forcing her to lead them. Meanwhile, she's pregnant, and so she's having to go through the swamp and all of this trauma. And in this issue, there is a lot of upheaval. There is division in the ranks of the people who are coming through that have kidnapped her. There are people from the park ranger forces who are trying to help her, who are not trying to help her, who are all kinds of things. And some big reveals are made. Really, really big reveals are made. Cy Spurrier is keeping you on your toes with the way he is telling this story, and things are changing so fast, and yet you are getting lost in the swamp with Vanessa's art in a way that just like, you're so busy like combing over what's happening in Vanessa's like pictures that you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that what Cy just did just changed the entire story. It's such a cool book. I cannot wait. I know the next issue is the last one. I cannot wait to see how they wrap it up. Wild Animals issue 3 from Mad Cave. This is the story of a young guy who his dad was killed when he was a young boy by a bunch of cops who had, gone wrong. His dad was a cop himself, and basically some dirty cops took him out. And his mom has recently passed away from cancer, and he feels like the only thing that kind of tethers him to this world is the idea of going after the people who came after his dad. And so he's done all the research to kind of figure out who each of them are, and returns back to the child, like his hometown from when he was a child, and is trying to hunt them down. In the last issue, he actually found one of them, and he just really wanted to confront them. He wasn't trying to like kill them or anything. He just kind of wanted to confront them and catch them and get them to face the justice that they deserved from the system. Unfortunately for him, that did not go the way he was planning in issue 2, and now in issue 3, he is spiraling out of control, trying to figure out what he's supposed to do, where he's supposed to go, and what that new world looks like for him. And I don't want to tell you too much about it, because he goes through so many different ups and downs in this issue, and connects to so many people that lead him in so many different directions, that the wild animal is that nature within ourselves, and he is really struggling to control it. First Americans, chapter 3. This is the first part of that. This is from Critical Entertainment. This is a really cool book that is a silent issue series. Like every issue of it has been a silent series, and it's about a tribe of people who are Paleo Indians who are journeying from Siberia to North America. And they have been trying to find a home, but also they have been following the trail of the mammoths that they have always eaten, that are kind of moving away from them. And in this issue, they start to kind of build, I'm going to turn this way. They start to kind of build that groove and that life, and everything kind of just seems to be finally working. They're finding these warmer climates. They're finding places that they can stay. They're seeming to have access to food kind of at all times, and different kinds of food, like they're discovering deer, they're discovering skunks, they're discovering berries. And so it seems like things are kind of going their way as they are finally starting to do that. But of course, things are dangerous in these situations, and they are rapidly changing, and we get to see kind of all of that through this beautifully told silent story. We've got Fortress, issue 2 from Rome Comics and Stranger Comics. This is coming back. This was a series that we only ever got the first 3 issues of, and they decided that they wanted to finish it, and so they're re-releasing these issues. This is 1, 2, and 3 have already come out before, but it's been like 5 years, so they're putting them back out so people can catch up. And I'm really glad they are, because it's such a cool book. Basically, there is a world where there was a massive war, and the robots that they kind of created to help the humanity are kind of lost to, have kind of become the very bad guys. And so there was one guy whose name was Caleb, who had this extra power that could actually save everybody, and he was able to do a fight that, like, fight the robots and kind of stop the war. But in it, he lost the robotic arms that kind of helped to keep him grounded and help him use his magic. And we have learned in issue 1 that the bad guys are the ones who have them, but the good guys are the ones who have Caleb. And he has just been woken up for the first time from a coma series that he's been in since that last war. And it's he's kind of coming to terms with what is the new reality and what is going on in this world now. And so we're trying to figure out, can we build him up, and can we save this world before it gets too late. And I love that we're gonna finally see whether or not that happens as it goes. But I love that it's also all done in those pinks and greens. It's just it's cool art, and it's got such a cool color palette for that kind of looks like you're looking at an old like game screen, computer screen, like those early days of that technology. Katie, may I have a bottle of water? Thank you. Like, I will not make it through the other 25 books without this.
Because all you can taste is sour.
No, I just can't keep talking that long without something to drink. All right, we've got Cemetery Kids Run Rabid, issue 2 from Oni Press. This is actually volume 2 of Cemetery Kids, and you do need to read Cemetery Kids volume 1, I think, being 2 issues, and you absolutely would have no idea because it does pick up right exactly where volume 1 of Cemetery Kids ended. But basically, Cemetery Kids is about this group of friends that all play this video game together, and it's one of those that's like really heavy, like VR. And as they go into the world in volume 1, the older brother who's in the group gets stuck in the game, and something kind of possesses him and takes over him, and he goes into this coma, and we see all of the other kids kind of get hurt and different things, but they have to continue playing the game to get them out of the game. And as far as we knew at the end of volume 1, the brother was out of the game and things were starting to look up and up, but now they are playing the game again, and a new version of the game, an expansion of the game. And unfortunately for them, the reason they're doing it is because something seems incredibly off about this older brother, and bad things seem to keep happening, and they are trying to figure out what's going on. And we learn in this issue that they are not wrong. There is something very, very bad happening, and there is something very, very bad going on with the brother. And whether or not they're going to actually be able to do anything about it is what we're going to see as they take a chance and go further into the game than they ever have before. Oh, we got new stuff. Hey. So, have we had this before?
I think we have.
I think we have. Okay.
Which is why we've opened it.
Okay, so this is Paso. Paso. It's also a Tempranillo. I don't know if we have, actually, because I don't remember the back of this label. This is... Again,
they changed the label.
They changed. Is that what it is? Okay. Well, again, Tempranillo, so should be kind of in that same vein of spices, robust aromas, things like that. So, this is a very small amount. So, it's like a tasting glass.
It's better.
Oh, that's much better. Okay. That tastes like wine. Like, not like sour grapes. Yeah. There's definitely pepper on the end. And no citrus, and doesn't taste like drinking Pine Sol. So, again, the wine was spoiled. It was not a bad wine, probably.
Right.
We've had it before. It was good. It was not the case today.
Not Pine Sol. It did taste like Pine Sol.
It tasted like Pine Sol. This does not taste like Pine Sol. This tastes like grapes and spice and flavor. Much better. Thank you, Anthony, for going and getting something else to save the day. And we're going to jump into Katie's favorite book. We've got Orla, issue 2 from Mad Cave. This is such a great book. I love this book so much. This is all about a woman named Orla who has you know what? I told you I was going to spoil it on issue 2, so I probably am. But she has a secret friend inside of her, and that secret friend helps her take out terrible men that she goes on dates with or, you know, encounters in life and other situations. And because of that, she's never actually been able to kind of like find a happiness in of herself. I'm actually going to show you that friend. She's never been able to find something that's made her happy, and it's kind of like all tied to her self-consciousness, but also really mostly tied to the fact that all of the men that she meets are terrible. And she kind of goes out with them on purpose to take out these terrible men before they can do things to women. Well, she ends up getting invited on a date by the person who owns the bookstore, who has the cutest dating style ever. It was such a cute little date. Like, they went to eat, they go to a movie, and it's kind of just a nice thing because Orla is so used to like feeling like she has to hide from people, and like she also thinks like, oh, I have to be a certain way. Like, they go on the date and she's like, oh, I have to, like, she's so awkward and doesn't know how to have a conversation. And so he just tells this embarrassing story about a time when he had an accident in his pants, and Orla's like, why would you tell me that? And he's like, because now nothing else any of us says could be terrible. Like, now I've said something that's so bad that no matter what comes out of your mouth, you're not going to be embarrassed. And so let's just be normal and have friends and have a wonderful night tonight together. And they do all the things that Orla normally thinks like she would hate, and they love it, and they have such a good time. And the problem is that Orla's never had a good relationship and a good moment, and so she's worried that the monster inside of her won't care that the man before her is actually a decent human being, and that he will still be in danger. And Orla is trying to figure out how to balance all of that. Also, I really hope the monster inside of her eats her best friend's fiance, but that's neither here or there. That's for later issues to come, I hope. Godzilla Escaped the Dead Zone issue 2 from IDW. This is part of the new Keisei era that is happening at IDW, which is the launch of the new era of Godzilla in general everywhere. And one of the big things we're seeing with that is that we're kind of seeing that mutant kaiju kind of situation happening. And in this series, we have a world where Portland has been destroyed and has become by some attacks, and it's kind of the area that is kind of known as the dead zone, and so people don't normally live there anymore, and the people who do just like can't get out. And so a man who is half kaiju, half human, has made his way to this dead zone. And while he's there, he in this issue comes face to face with the Church of Godzilla, which is a woman who has started a cult worshiping the kaiju and the power and the destruction that they bring. And, you know, even if you're worshiping Godzilla, when you go crazy cult status, things just get real bad real fast. And unfortunately for our kaiju mutant friend, he has to work to save some children who get wrapped up in the situation, and so he faces off head to head with this Church of Godzilla, and you just get like some really cool conversations, but also some really cool fight scenes between these two people. We've got Monster High House Haunters, issue 2 from IDW. In issue 1 of this, we saw a bunch of the characters from Monster High decide that they were going to stay at a scare B&B and go on a weekend getaway. And when they get there, they discover that the house is not scary in the way they want it to, and it actually doesn't have the aesthetic they even wanted to. And so half of them start redesigning the house and building a new world. The other half learn that there is definitely something dangerous and spooky afoot in the house, and they accidentally activate that. And so in this issue, we start to see the inanimate objects and the terrible things inside the house start to come apart as the tightened academia actually starts to attack them. And so we are seeing all of this stuff fall apart for these girls. They really thought that they were going to just have this nice, subtle, calm adventure, but they really don't. And one of the big things that we do see in this is that, much like in the main Monster High proper story, Draculaura feels like it's always her responsibility to take care of everything. And we are finally seeing some people kind of step in and say, Draculaura, for once, like, shut up, and just realize we're all on a team together. It's hilarious, it's fun, it's a great time, and if you love Monster High, you should definitely be picking it up. Blink and You'll Miss It, issue 2 from Boom Studios. This is a story about a mysterious town where it seemed like the town itself was just a really bad place, and one of our characters, Jessie, just kind of wanted to get out of there. And in issue 1, Jessie comes back and everything has changed, and yet nothing has changed at all in the town. And she comes face to face with Melody, who is somebody who she had a love for as a child, and she really wants to kind of help this person escape. But there is more to the story, and in this issue we see what that more is, as Melody kind of takes us through the fact that something is pulling her through time and space and forcing her to relive some of these tragic memories in her life, and she kind of keeps waking up and finding herself aged at different points, and learning that the town itself has this weird, mysterious culture, and there's something that we still don't quite understand what it is, but we see that the people of the town, and specifically the priest of the town, kind of is overseeing the who, what, when, where, why of everybody's life, and the the cause and death and connections between everybody. And yet then by the time Melody starts to piece that together, she finds herself waking up in a completely different space, and she is telling all of this to Jesse in letters. And so it's like, how is this going to connect to that moment that we saw in issue 1, and how are people going to like be able to get back to it, and what is actually happening in this town? We'll find out, I think, as the story continues. Issue 3 is the turn, so we'll probably have some big reveal in that. We've got Red Vector issue 2 from Mad Cave. This is the story of, it's kind of like if you took like a Star Wars kind of battle and then you brought it down to Earth, and like the people of Earth had no idea like a Star Wars kind of universe existed beyond there, because we are following 2 guys who were in a dogfight in space, as one of them is connected to like the evil empire, like the brother of the evil empire, the brother of Darth Vader essentially, and he's trying to kind of get away from that. In their dogfight, they end up crashing onto Earth, and now they're on the planet Earth, and they're trying to figure out how to get back off of it. And while they're doing that, they're staying with this woman who is a park ranger. And in this issue, we kind of follow this person who is on the border patrol, and he is awful and terrible, and he discovers our mysterious space alien people and is like, what is going on? Where are you from? What is this? What is all this mysterious stuff you're talking about? Like, and he immediately reacts completely and terribly, and so she's trying to figure out how she can kind of get everybody on the same page, get them to stop all fighting each other, get them to get everybody out of all this danger, and kind of just figure out a way to help these guys get back to where they're coming from. Meanwhile, the rift in time that was created for these guys to come out of that space place and into ours seems to have stabilized, and unfortunately for us, that means the evil empire may be able to get through, and those bad guys may be coming to Earth as well as the story continues. Romanus Magicae, issue 2. This is from, I still don't know what publisher this is. I'm going to tell you in just a second. This is, it's Cambrian Comics. It's just another one of those new publishers that we have discovered through the Massive Indies that we're getting to see as Massive takes on distributing for some of the smaller presses. And this story takes place in ancient Rome, and it follows a guy who was a member of the SPQR. He was a soldier, and he kind of abandoned that experience after getting into a huge fight and having to be in one of those battles where he took out the people who he thought were innocent and shouldn't be in those fights. And so now he's kind of become a drunken lush who, is just kind of roaming about the town. Well, he ends up helping a woman who is in danger in issue 1, only to find out that she is a prophetess who, an oracle, as they would have said then. She is an oracle that has not been discovered by the Romans, and that they are trying to keep sacred and special and away from them, because she is having a lot of visions that will lead to some things that they will try to stop her from making happen. And so there is a secret society of people who have kind of teamed up and are trying to stop, to keep her safe, and also kind of help make these visions the reality when they need to be, and also like to stop them when it's dangerous. And unfortunately for them, they have been discovered in some capacity in this issue, and so we are going to see some dangerous situations coming on our team in the next issue. Invisible Man issue 2 from Image Skybound and the Universal Monsters imprint. These are officially licensed Universal Monster stories coming to you. And this is we have made it to the Invisible Man, and we're getting a very similar story to what we expect from the Invisible Man. At this point, he has just started his research and in issue 1, and is getting to the point where he has kind of figured out how to make that invisibility happen on rats. And so he is trying to figure out how he might be able to stretch that beyond the rats into something bigger. And while he's trying to do that, he has a lab partner that he has to share the space with, who's not working on the same research as him, who he absolutely hates. And he is trying in this issue to figure out how to kind of get their benefactor to release that person from their role and to keep them out of there. And the battles between them kind of just get a little bit more and more high tension. And we're starting to see that aggressive nature that becomes the danger of the Invisible Man really starts to take hold of him. And we're seeing these flashes of the dangerous things he would do if he lost control over the situation. We're also seeing him find that beautiful love that he wants to have with the woman he loves, but of course he is still highly too focused on his research and can't make that happen. The dangers, the downfalls of all of the things. This is James Tynion writing it, and this is actually the story he really wanted to do in the Universal Monsters world, and so it's really cool to see somebody who's been wanting to tell an Invisible Man story for a long time get a chance to do that. Escape, issue 2 from Image Comics and the Giant Generator imprint. This is the story of a person, well, I guess they're like an anthropomorphic bear, dog. I think they're dogs. But he, yeah, that's a dog. He is trying to, he's in a unit in the war, and they go across, and their whole unit is taken out, and he is the only person who kind of remains and is behind enemy lines and trying to get home. And that's all in issue 1. And issue 2 takes us back in time to before all of that, when he actually met the love of his life, the woman who he wants to get home to. And so we get to see the story of them meeting and falling in love, and him kind of realizing that he isn't active in the world. Because when he first meets her, she's an activist who's like, you need to stand up and we need to fight against the things that are happening in this war, and we need to take a stand. And he's like, I don't want to be a part of the world. I just want to fly my planes and avoid it. And through their relationship that they build, he kind of realizes there's more important things in this world, and that there are things worth fighting for. And so when the time comes for him to take the call of whether or not he's going to join the military, he ends up doing it and going to war, and then immediately having that problem where he gets knocked down into this world and having to come back, and he's like, I need to fight for my family and to get back to them. And so you do get that personal and deep, like, human connection side of the story that Rick Remender is so good at building. We get that in this issue to go with that, like, action-packed first issue. So whether or not they're going to be able to get back and how they're going to do it, like, you're so invested in that relationship now. Quick Stops, issue 2 of volume 3 from Dark Horse. This, I was like, if you want to talk about, like, the sad stories of the week, this is actually Kevin Smith making an entire issue that is dedicated to his friend Shannon Doherty. And so there's 2 stories in here, and one of them is Kevin telling the story of the first time he met Shannon and how he got her to star in Mallrats and how important that was in order for the movie to be made. And so it actually shows Shannon's audition. It shows him actually watching 90210 while he's working at the gas station, the Quick Stop. And so you do get to see that backstory of how they became friends and everything. And then he said that right before she passed away, he had gone on her podcast and asked her if, they talked about her possibly doing talk about the Mallrats sequel he's wanted to make forever. And he brought on one of the scenes that he wanted her to do in that movie if they got to make it. And so she read the scene on the podcast, and he was like, we'll never get to see it because even if we make the movie, like, she obviously has passed away, so she couldn't do it. So he had it illustrated in comic format and with that script piece. And so that little part that she read, and he actually encouraged everybody in the book to read the podcast from when it starts of him actually, like, her actually reading the script and have it reading while you're reading the story, so it's almost like an audiobook version. But it's these have been really cool because this version of Quick Stops has kind of just been a little bit more behind the scenes things for Kevin Smith's world. And I do love it because Kevin constantly in here talks about how before, like, he gets too far, he's like, I'm not the best writer. The internet's going to tell me that long before, like, like before I can even finish writing this issue. So, I'm not like I'm just going to say it in here. And like, he's also like, oh, look, it took me less than 3 panels to mention Clerks. I know. The internet says I can't go without mentioning it. So it's just really funny that he kind of like tongue in cheek makes fun of himself. But he does talk about Grant Morrison's Animal Man and how it inspired also his idea to do this issue. So, yeah.
Anthony and I were today years old when we found out that Shannon Doherty died.
Yeah,
that's sad. No.
Oh, wow.
Like, man.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. That's crazy. I didn't know, that we talked about that. I know we talked about it at Pizza at the Loaded Barrel when it happened because Josh Finlan, our Shannon Doherty obsessed friend, came out to talk about how sad he was. It was a very sad day. Yeah. Yeah. Well, a year, you can read this and have the experience with Monster High World Scare, issue 2 from IDW. This is our other ongoing Monster High issue that's going on right now. And in this one, this one kind of connects more with the main story that was on the last series of Monster High. But in this, Frankie, Draculaura, Claudine, Cleo, and Laguna are having to figure out how to get these dream crystals, which they just recently got, because they need them in order for Frankie to figure out possibly a way to make a new technology that will hopefully help her be able to bring back her dad and maybe also stop some of the bad things that are happening at Monster High right now. Meanwhile, there is also an organization called Gloom Tech, which is making some very nefarious and terrible things, and Laguna is trying to protest against them because they are doing research on animals and on monster creatures, and they don't want that to happen. And when Laguna goes to do her protest, all of her friends miss it, and it doesn't go the way she wants, and it becomes a violent protest, and Laguna is worried that nobody will take her cause seriously now, and she needs her friends to be a part of it. Really interesting to see what Frankie and Draculaura kind of go down into trying to figure out, like, what Draculaura wished for and wanted her dream crystal for, and wanting to figure out, like, what exactly Frankie is up to, and new characters that are introduced to kind of help that go along the way. But again, Monster High fans, you definitely should be reading all these Monster High books coming out right now. We've got Archie versus Minor Threats issue 2 from Dark Horse Comics, and our local comic shop day ambassadors Pat Oswald and Jordan Blum, and our friend Timmy Heeg. So this is such a fun one because it does take the worlds of Minor Threat and Archie Comics and blend them together. So in issue 1, Sabrina, our everybody's favorite fun-loving teenage witch, is trying to figure out exactly how she can do this spell that she needs to do, and in order to do that she needs to find some magic, and so she decides to kind of hijack the trip that the kids are taking, and on the process of them all going to do that, a very bad magician ends up causing their bus to get knocked off track, and bad things happen, and now Sabrina has been kidnapped, and they are trapped inside of the world of the Minor Threats, which is a very dark supervillain world that you would not expect to cross over with the Archie universe. And while Betty, Veronica, Reggie, and Archie have been brought in to be a group of villain sidekicks, essentially, Josie and the Pussycats and Jughead are also left wandering around on their own, and they have their own problem to deal with, and that is the fact that Jughead is hungry and they don't have any money. And so they find a restaurant where if you can eat 22 burgers or 20 burgers within the time frame, they're free. And Jughead's like, problem solved, everybody. And then he actually has the funniest thing, because he's like, hey, Josie, does it say that you're not allowed to eat more than the 20 burgers, or are you allowed to keep going if you're still hungry? And they're like, okay. Meanwhile, it's Barfly that actually works at the restaurant making the burgers. If you're a fan of the Minor Threats world, you may know who that is. And so they strike up a friendship with them. Then they realize, even though they have the food problem figured out, they still don't have the money problem figured out. So Josie and the Pussycats and their new friend Barfly decide to enter a battle of the bands in an attempt to earn some money. But unfortunately for them, the minor threats world is filled with villains doing bad things all the time, and there is problems and battles and things and all kinds of stuff, and Salem is just trying to help everybody figure it out. But Archie is in this thing where he realizes he never gets the girl, and maybe it's because he always plays it too safe, and maybe he should have been a villain the whole time. And meanwhile, Playtime, who is our villain, is like, from the minor threats world, is like, maybe I should just be good, and maybe I'm so to do that. And unfortunately for the two of them, hijinks are going to ensue in the worst way possible, and the end of this issue is definitely opening up even more stuff. Dude, Timmy, you're crushing it. I love it. I'm so excited to see where it's going to go next. It's going to be so good. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I also have wine that's not spoiled, so I'm going to take a drink. Because we're about to hit all of our number ones. Yay! We did it. First up, we have Flow number 1 from Mad K. If you are a fan of any horror movie kind of world, you're probably going to love this book. But this is very much like Carrie and Friday the 13th, almost kind of mixed together. This is about a group of people who, when they were kids, all went to a summer camp together, and a young girl who was homeschooled and by a mysterious family who had some very strange things happen in their lives already, gets her period for the first time and has no idea what it is, and nobody at the camp will help her. They're not allowed to talk to her about it because the camp believes that only your parents should be allowed to tell you about these things. And so this poor girl is traumatized in front of everybody. And it only gets worse because when she starts to ask questions, nobody wants to tell her anything about it except for, of course, the camp bully, who comes up with a bunch of things that she has to do to break the curse of why she's bleeding instead of just telling her what's happening. And so she starts doing all of these very dangerous and terrible things to try to get the curse to end. Well, we are following this story in 2 different timelines because that is the flashbacks we are getting, while we are following some of the people who are now adults in this situation, who are at the camp and a part of things, and bad, mysterious things are starting to happen to them that are very familiar to things that happened in their summer camp experience with this young girl. So what happened? What is the final thing? What are we going to see? And what is happening in the now? I don't know. But we're definitely going to get a great horror story out of this. Can't wait. Again, very Carrie, very almost like Firestarter, very classically horror in that realm. And so it's a great first issue to get us started on that. Good as Dead, issue 1 from Image Comics. This is one a lot of people came in asking for. And now that I read it, like, totally get why. But this is also kind of a new horror situation for us. Or not horror situation. Kind of horror? Action horror? I don't know the best way to describe it. But basically, this is about a town that's been disconnected from the world for forever. They live on an island, and they originally didn't have any communication with the outside world. And then a family of like mobsters essentially built a bridge that was able to get them out of there. And so because of that, they've kind of controlled all of this town for a really long time. Well, now, suddenly, for the first time in forever, they're going to be building a new bridge. And on the day that the bridge is supposed to happen, there's also a festival. And a bunch of people are at the festival, and everybody at the festival gets sick with this mysterious disease. Meanwhile, the bridge that gets built suddenly collapses, and our poor sheriff is having to figure out all of this under some dire circumstances of his own. Meanwhile, his sister seems to be kind of like almost a precog level of intelligence, and so there's all these different layers, and that's why I'm like, it's kind of an action mystery, but there's also some definite supernatural creepy horror stuff that's kind of laying in on the bits and pieces that go around beyond that. There's twists and turns. Nobody is a good guy. Everybody's kind of a terrible person. Everybody's also kind of like completely connected and yet completely unconnected to everything, all in the same thing. Small town problems, drama everywhere. Bad things are going to happen. we got like 1 week to solve the whole entire mystery and save the day, and I don't know that they can do it, but it's really cool because it is a little thicker. It's more of a square bound book, so you are getting a little bit more story in there, and I hope that they're all that size. But Black Demon Tales Mechanica, this is issue 1 from AMP. So we've had, over the course of the years, we've had a couple different Black Demon Tales. They were originally put out from the Chispa line when it was with Scout, and they were always one-shots, and we just had a one-shot recently, and now this might actually be our first at least dual shot for this, but this is all about the Black Demon, which is a giant, massive shark that is known throughout these Latin legends and seems to come for people. And in this issue, it starts by coming for a cruise ship, a yacht kind of situation, and the boat is destroyed, and then we see a woman who's like, I have to be the one to stop the Black Demon, and she creates essentially like a mech shark. And she's like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fight this. And she goes to fight the Black Demon and does not go the way she plans. And when she wakes up in the hospital, very close to the beginning of the book, she has to come up with a new plan and is very much like, I'm like determined to take this demon down and to create something. But the company she works for is like, we don't want to be connected with this and anything that's going on. And so she's like, how are we going to get this mech that I need to do this, and how are we going to go after the Black Demon? And we're going to find out. Like, you see a little bit of it in this, but it definitely leaves it open to where it's like a to be continued question mark. So it doesn't even have a question mark, actually. We're just actually going to it's going to keep going. So for the first time, we'll actually see more than one issue come out of the Black Demon series, which I would love if they would actually just do a full-on series about the Black Demon, because it's super cool, but we'll see. Cowboys of Moo Mesa, #1 from Oni Press and our Nacelle universe. This is so much fun. So if the Cowboys of Moo Mesa, actually it even says in here, like, before the Biker Mice, before RoboForce, before Power Lords, before Sectars, there were other champions in the Nacelle universe, and it was the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. And so this is that story, and it starts out with Mary, the Sheriff Mary, teaching Moo how to take over and how to become a sheriff, and training him to be the sheriff. And then Mary is like, I'm going to go to this other town, and you're going to take over. Well, a couple years go by, and suddenly Mary has gone missing from this new town, and Moo has to go. Moo is called in as a marshal to come in and figure out what's going on in that town, and why Mary and so many of the other people from the cow town that she's in have gone missing. And we definitely see, like, the mayor of that town seems a little shady. This sheriff's deputy is like a raging bull, literally, and needs to calm down. And there seems to be something, like, some big stuff happening. And Moo's kind of just trying to find a place in this town real quickly so that he can help people. And he seems to find that in the young boy that comes to help him, Caleb, and the woman who owns the bar in town. But unfortunately for them, action happens fast in cartoon-based books, and so people continue to go missing, and he's going to have to fight real fast to figure out what's going on and how he's going to stop them. But this is a lot of fun, and if you weren't a Cowboys of Moo Mesa fan, this is a great way to get into it, because it does actually tell you, like, how they became, like, anthropomorphic cows and horses and all of that. Like, you get all of that history as well as this new action story, so you can jump in right here knowing nothing about them ever and fall in love with the universe. Creepshow's back. Volume 4 of Creepshow from Image, Skybound, and this is our issue 1 of this new Creepshow volume. And this is classically Creepshow. We get 2 issues in there, 2 stories in there in every issue. The first one is called Tell as Old as Time. And it is about a woman who wanders into a party, and they, full of rich men. And it's like, when a woman comes into a room, everybody thinks that she's the prey, but in reality, she's the predator. And she comes after this old man and is like, I wanna be your wife. I wanna fall in love with you. I want to have this great thing. And he's like old and dying, and she's like, this year it's gonna be perfect. And they get married, and they go to his castle that he has secretly far away from everything else. And she learns a lot about this man and what he knows and who he is in that moment. And then we have the little house on the left, which is all about a guy who wants to be a writer really bad and is offended because he starts dating a woman, and in their relationship she decides she also is going to be a writer, and unfortunately for him, she is much better than he is, and he is mad that she gets all of the jobs and all the gigs and all her manuscripts sell. So he steals her manuscript and runs off to a house that he rents, only to try to steal her idea from her and turn it in. But unfortunately, the house that he finds has ideas of its own, and things get creepy. We've got Voyeur issue 1 from Ignition. This is the second book coming out from Ignition, and it's once again just like a huge launch for them. They have such good, the books and the talent are just so on for them. This is all about a man who is a voyeur, so he likes to watch people, and he has another big secret about himself, and so he is working at the Koi Kingfisher Resort, and has learned that this may be the perfect place to build a life where he can actually not only watch people, but be the perfect place to steal and develop his like thievery career. And so when he is determined to steal some art. He is a huge art thief, and he's trying to do it. And so he starts watching this woman, and he finds himself, drawn to her from the voyeur side of him, and watching her and her every move and becoming obsessed with her. But at the same time, he's also needing to steal art. And there is a twist midway through this book that changes the entire tone of who is in charge and who is doing what and what is actually going down. And I don't want to show you any of that because I don't want to ruin Leah Williams's great twist and turn for you. But if you're looking for a like super sexy, very like you're gonna get like your spy thriller and your thief, like your art thief and all of that, but you're also gonna get like a super sexy book, very much for adults. This is gonna be a great one to add to your read list. Casey Jones is back. Issue 1 from the TMNT universe at IDW. Casey Jones, if you've been following Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, has been in a coma and recently woke up in the Turtles main title. And so this is actually the first we're hearing from Casey. In fact, April's recently been wearing his hockey mask and taking his sticks out and being the vigilante that Casey Jones normally is. And so in this issue, Casey is awake and he needs to get out on patrol. He feels like it's time for him to step back into his role, and he knows that April is not going to be happy with him for doing it, so he waits till she's sleeping and runs out to try to stop some people. And he ends up going after some gang members that are going after a little kid in a park, and he tries to stop them. And of course, they're like, you're crossing some lines, Jones, that will just get you back in danger. And he's like, hey, you don't know who my friends are. And so him and the Turtles team up to kind of take these people out and are trying to figure out how to get this young girl back to her family and keep her safe, which Casey is taking very seriously on his own because he understands the plight that this child is going through, because it's very similar to his own childhood stories. Meanwhile, because he is Raphael's best friend on the side, Raph is very concerned about Casey making terrible choices and going out on patrol. And we all know Raph is definitely the one to be the voice of reason. But Casey is mad and doesn't want to hear it from Raph, and they kind of get in a little spat about it. But we are going to see Casey kind of take on this child's mission as he also works much like the Turtles and April to try to take down Hale, who has been running the city. And of course, we're seeing how that's going down in the Turtles main series. Exo Man of War is back from Valiant, which is now a part of Alien Books. This is a new origin, new universe, and a new starting point for all of the Valiant characters, but in this one specifically for Exo Man of War. And in this, we see him wake up on a planet that is very much like apocalyptic wasteland situation, and he finds this family of people that's just trying to get to safety, and they are attacked by this group of people who literally like kind of ride in like in Mad Max, and so they go after this family, and he's like, I'm the defender of people, I am not here for this, and he goes into this big fight with them and kind of takes them all out, and they're like, you didn't need to stand up for us, why are you doing that? And he's like, because like nobody should be attacked by people just for trying to find a home. Like, that's my entire thing, is that my home was ruined by people, and I have been trying to stand up for people since then. And they end up going to a place where people are supposed to be able to find safety, and he has to kind of prove himself to be in that place, and learns that he's not the only person that feels that way, that people need to be able to give safety. And unfortunately for him, the battle is only beginning in all of these places, and we do get to see a little bit of that starting point. And I really hope this sticks, because I started reading Exo Man of War stuff like for these modern reboots, and we kind of always get to the point where we start to see like him figure out all of the stuff of his history, and then we lose our Valiant books for a while, and so I never actually get to see all of the stuff I need to discover, and I don't want to go back and read 40 years worth of comics, so I need them to give me all of that info in like the next issue. Give it to me, Steve Orlando. You're there. You can do it. We've got The Innkeeper, which is actually from Antarctic Press, and this is from their manga, which they are doing in American Floppy Comics, which is really cool, which is why I wanted to check it out. And so it is very much drawn in manga style, but it reads in American, like left to right fashion. And this is about a small town where a woman who runs an inn is there to kind of welcome and help people find their place. And this person comes in because a lot of people have gone missing, and as this most recent person has disappeared, an investigator is finally brought in to actually look into it. And so nobody is willing to help except for this innkeeper, who takes our little investigator on all of these journeys through the town, and she feels like she needs to lead her astray, because we know a little bit more about our innkeeper than the investigator does, but she's like, I'm still gonna help her because that's the right thing to do. And they go through all the different stuff, and the investigator kind of learns a lot and exposes a lot to us, but at the same time doesn't. Anyway, this was definitely building out a universe that they can build. I don't know if it's going to come in manga size and like a full thing later in the future, but this definitely gave us a new character and a cross point for them, and both of the characters were fantastic. I really want to see more from them, but it does all center around the story of this, like, these two gods and like this twin god situation, and one of them being killed and the other one kind of remaining, and how that all connects to our innkeeper and our investigator is part of our journey. The Phantom is back in his own title with issue 1 from Mad Cave. The Phantom has been a part of the Defenders of the Earth for the last year, but this is 2 years. How long has Defenders of the Earth been going on now? Yeah, I think it's been almost 2 years now. And so he's finally back in his own series, and so this is going to, give us an awesome Phantom story, and it really does. It kicks off really well. We get to see a little bit about, who the Phantom is and his world, that the village that he's kind of protecting, the 7 kingdoms that he kind of watches over. And in this issue, he has been he's telling us the story, which I love it, because he starts like in the middle of the action of the story, and you get the like, whoa, that's not where the story started, start over kind of situation, as he's telling the story to another person. And so we get to see him build out this kind of conversation about how he's always protected this village and this friend that he has, and the time that they've spent together. And now the village is in danger because a plane that was carrying drugs crashed not too far from the village, and the people who are coming to reclaim that those drugs are, and figure out what's going on, are very upset about the fact that they think the village might do it. And this has now put us in the danger zone with this group, because once they find out that a village exists, they kind of take it over, and it does not go well for anybody. And the Phantom is the only one who can kind of save these people, and this is a village that he has helped keep secret for so long. This is definitely building up a big universe for the Phantom and a big adventure that's going to happen. I'm so excited. If you didn't read it, if you missed it, come grab it, because you're going to want to get it. And again, he's been in Defenders of the Earth. This isn't connecting to that story at all. This is kind of just, the Phantom that walks kind of situation, like building his own new story. Skinbreaker, issue 1. This is from Image Skybound. This is the newest Robert Kirkman book. This is not related to Invincible or any of the other Kirkman universes. This is its own new thing. And David Finch is building massive spreads of art in this book all over the place. But this is about a world where there is a village of people, and there is one person who, the chief of that village of people is not doing so well. He's kind of getting to old age, and he's starting to not be able to handle this stuff anymore. And his advisor, his closest friend and confidant, has kind of been covering for him and doing a lot of the heavy lifting for him. And there is this really big jerk that lives in the village, and he's absolutely 100% trying to take over the village. And the way that this works is somebody must challenge the chief in order to become the new leader. And they're really all worried that this terrible man is going to kind of take over and be the one to challenge the chief. And meanwhile, we learn that essentially what determines the power and strength of the people in this kingdom is they're all born with like this stuff covering their skin, and this sword shines the light from the sun onto them, and like their skin literally breaks apart and peels and like starts them into it. And our main character's son has not had his skin break yet, and so everybody kind of is holding that against him, almost in like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, like, your dad's the lead reindeer and you have a red nose. It's kind of very similar to that story. But we're gonna see some big fights in this as these people have to figure out like the challenge of the new leader and who's gonna rule this world. Viking Moon, issue 1, also from Image Comics. This is kind of taking over after, picking up, I should say, right after Leif Erikson established the Viking settlement in Vinland, which is Newfoundland. And this is like the next group of people, essentially, that kind of came, I think it says 20 years later. Yeah, 20 years later, they show up, and they make posts like up on this same island area or the same land area, and they're like so excited, and they come and they find out that like all of their people have been wiped out, and they're like, is this because of the indigenous people that are already here? Is that what's attacking them? And they're trying to come in and like show like, hey, we are peaceful and we don't want that, and we don't want that to be the situation. And as they're trying to do that, and they go out into the woods to figure out what's going on, something much more dangerous than they could have possibly imagined is lurking inside of those woods. And I'm not going to say it, even though it's you can see the cover of the book, but they're trying to figure out like what exactly it is that's coming for them, and how it kind of what happened to all of their people. And they're trying to figure out how to build a space safely, because not only are they dealing with whatever it is that's hiding in these woods, but they are also making terrible mistakes on trying to build those relationships very quickly. This definitely opened up another like really cool world, because we don't see a lot of like the stories that take place in that area. And we don't kind of have we haven't had a horror story that's like Vikings who aren't in the Viking area at this point. So it's really cool to see how this is going to go and how it's going to play out. Essentially, I mean, you can see the cover. You can see it's like Vikings and werewolves and things of that nature. But I'm really excited to see how this goes. It's going to be really cool. There was something that I thought I was going to say that was on the back of this book. Oh, yes. The thing that I was going to say on the back of this book. I shouted out Ignition last week for being awesome and making sure that all of their books have blurbs on the back. Well, we have to give everybody credit where credit is due, and Viking Moon also has a blurb on the back telling you what the series is about. So, no, this is Image. So, it's really cool to see that that other publishers are starting to do that. Please put it on the back of all of them, not just issue 1, so that people can pick it up and find that. But I love that we're starting to see publishers do this. This is something that we need desperately in our industry, so keep doing it. It's such a great idea. The Dusk, #1 from Amp Comics. This is going to be a great new superhero story. This is the first superhero book in the Amp world. You know, we had our Western, we have our rom-com, we have our fantasy story. Now we've got our superhero world, and this is great. This is all about a guy who is working as the superhero for his community, and he's trying really hard to just do the right thing. But every time he does, like, it's, you know, classic superhero story, the police aren't on his side. They're not really, like, everybody's not sure if he's the good guy or the bad guy. Meanwhile, he's also a single dad, and he's trying to just, like, help his teenage daughter, like, really pay attention to him and, like, be happy with him. And his daughter is in softball, and she's doing really good, and he's trying to be like this ultimate dad. But he's got a balance between the secret that he has that he's a superhero, and also the secret that he has that he just discovered that who he thought he was and what he always thought his life was meant to be is completely different. And so not only has he become this vigilante, but he's also learned that there is some other mysterious past to him, and he is still unraveling those pieces as we go. There are so many layers to this book, as with all Amp books. What a great launch point. They are really, again, Amp, you're just doing it. You're launching great. You're doing a great job. Orphan and the Five Beasts, Bath of Blood, issue 1 from Dark Horse Comics. This is a sequel. I guess not the sequel. This is a continuation of Orphan and the Five Beasts. When Volume 1 came out, we didn't actually get through all of the Five Beasts, and so we're kind of picking up where we left off. This is about a woman who has taken on the role of a Ronin. Is trying to get the vengeance for her family, and she has been trained by this great master of martial arts who has just really prepared her for the fact that she was going to have to take out these 5 beasts. He also was killed in this battle, and so she has been on this like war path of trying to take out all of these villains so that she can actually bring this in. As of the end of Volume 1, she had only taken out 2, or at least believes she's taken out 2, and so at the beginning of this, she's kind of recapping all of that for us. They actually give us the whole story told by one of her underlings, which kind of feels like those scenes in Ant-Man when you get the recap from the friends. It's kind of like that. But while that's all going on, she's also having a connection of somebody with a woman who works at a bathhouse that is actually working to heal her, and we are learning a little bit about the people in this town, and I think there's going to be some big connections there. Crazy art, definitely wicked awesome to see. Street Sharks, issue 1 from IDW. If you are, again, enjoying all of those cartoons coming back, here's another one for you with the Street Sharks. And the Street Sharks are having to battle against their big bad guy who is trying to get his hands on a bunch of the technology, including kind of like their ooze stuff that turned them into the Street Sharks. This is a group of brothers who were all mutated by an evil scientist, and he has mutated other people since then, and they are like his underlings who he's sending out to do this. And so this whole issue is just a battle of the Street Sharks trying to stop them from getting the supplies that he could use to turn the rest of the town into mutant animals. And they are, working with their team. They have their scientist friends on their side. But this is Street Sharks number 2 won't be back until November. So you've got a little bit of time to actually jump in and figure out who the Street Sharks are and get to know them as you jump into some more cartoon fun. We've got Twilight Zone issue 1. This is a Twilight Zone anthology horror series from IDW. This one's called Blanks. Much like the Twilight Zone show, you get your nice little narration that leads you into a story. And in this story, we are specifically following one of like the world's richest men who realizes that he is coming to the end of his life, and he is trying to figure out how to prolong that because he doesn't want to die from the disease that's taking control of him. And so he has had scientists working on an island to figure out how to eradicate disease and elongate life. And he's decided that he is going to have them experiment on him. He will be the first human trial. And when he wakes up, much like in things of the Twilight Zone world, things get a little strange. Nobody has faces. Everybody is blank. And he starts trying to figure out if he's still in the real world or if something strange has happened. And I don't want to spoil what that is, but it is a great conversation from Dan Waters about like, what is it that makes us human and what is it that makes life worth living and what are you willing to sacrifice to make that happen? Totally a Twilight Zone kind of situation. We've got Guns of Brixton issue 1. This is from a publisher. Don't even know which one. I still don't really know which one. Okay. Well, I guess it's Shift. Maybe that's the closest I can figure out to like who may be the publisher. Anyway, this is all about this is a book that is going to open up a new world for us, and I'm hoping we get it because we did actually get this in from Diamond, and I don't know if we'll ever like get the rest of it. But this is all about a band of girls who are a band of people who have their like they're really excited to have like their big show. It's going to be so great. One of them gets them, you know, all the gear they need so they can play the show, as well as some drugs that they can do so that they can be like rock stars. And while they're at their show and playing that, there's also a completely different thing going on with like an evil scientist who's essentially created a zombie virus and is going to cause a zombie outbreak in the world, and him and his minions are all taking the vaccine so that they don't get it. Well, the band finishes their show, and as soon as they're like hanging out in the back room, they hear a bunch of stuff going on outside, and when they open the door, turns out the zombie apocalypse has in fact started. And so now they have to figure out essentially how to fight against it, and all they have is like their guitars and their beers and all their weapons to try to make it through this. And again, I do hope that we get to see the rest of it. It's a 5-part series. It's actually British. It's got pounds for the prices.
It's from B7 Comics.
B7 Comics?
Yes.
Sweet. Thank you for looking that up. Thanks, Anthony. All right, I got 3 picks of the week for you guys. Can you believe it? We made it. We did it. We're at picks of the week. First up, we've got Stay Awake number 4 from Afterlight Comics. This is the final chapter of a series that, again, we haven't really seen all of until now because it was only distributed by Diamond, but I really, really love the way they wrap this up. This is the story of a therapist, a psychologist who gets visited by a woman who is like an investigator. She's a police officer, and she's trying to figure out what happened and why one of his patients is killed. And in the process of course, doing that research, she finds out that other patients that came to him for the same mysterious cases, specifically focusing on sleep paralysis, had all ended up dying from differences, like different tragic deaths. And so at this point, he has actually started having his own hallucinations and seeing those people who died from those tragic deaths. And so he has been put into a asylum where they are working on him, and he starts to have these visions get worse and worse. Now, that sounds pretty cliche, and that's not what makes this pick of the week. What actually makes this a pick of the week is that he actually starts to believe that he is solving it, and you actually start to believe that he's like solving it, and that it's not hallucinations, and there's something going on. And as you're like believing that and falling into the belief of this narrator, you start to like wonder who's unreliable. Are you unreliable? Are the doctors treating him are unreliable? Is he unreliable? Like, what is actually happening and what is real and what isn't? And they do such a good job with that, and figuring out how to tell the story, and just the way they wrap it up, and the depths of the like mind and the like reality bin that they do in this is just such a really great way to tell this story. And so I love seeing something completely different. And also, this came in later in the week, so if you didn't get it, we do have them if you're somebody who's picking up this book, but it did come in later in the week. Also, we've got Beneath the Trees, Where Nobody Sees, Rites of Spring, issue 2 from IDW. I normally don't put Beneath the Trees in Picks of the Week. Not because Beneath the Trees isn't always a Pick of the Week, but because of the fact that Beneath the Trees is always a Pick of the Week, and you know that. Like, you know that it's good. But Patrick Horvath always manages to do something a little bit different with this series, and I'm always impressed with it, and this is another one of those times, because this series doesn't follow Samantha, who's our main character from the last series, but Samantha is in it, like, and you know, if you read the first book, Sam is a serial killer, and we never really saw why Sam was the way she is in the first issue and first volume, and it never really needed to exist. But now, as we're watching Sam kind of be the secondary character to a person who's looking for her missing brother who was murdered, and is like, Sam's kind of got this fascination with giving them more information. Like, it's almost like Sam wants to get caught, and there seems to be something strange. We actually finally do get Sam's backstory, and the way Patrick molds the like backstory into this new story that's like secondary story for Sam is such a cool way to do it. And I think that Patrick just has such a really great storytelling process, and just how Sam became the person that Sam is also like, and became that serial killer. It's just a really cool story that adds so much depth to what's going on in this one, as this person is also just trying to figure out and uncover things. And it's like, we learn something in the same process that they learn something, and it's so cool. Patrick Horvath is just nailing it every time, and I always love seeing Asmani Allahu letter things. Just makes me happy because they're so good. All right, and lastly, no surprise to anybody, I'm sure, No Man's Land #1 is here from Image Comics, which is from Simon Kodransky, which, if you know how much I love something epic, you're probably not surprised that I also love this book, because I just think Simon is so good. Such a great, I love the writing, I love the fact that he does so many different art styles, and is able to put all of that together and do these books all like as one-man art. Like, this is all just Simon, except for, I believe, a translator. But this is such a cool concept and such a cool story. It is all about, essentially, this is during the Cold War. It's during JFK's presidency. It's right after a lot of the big stuff that's, you know, happening in that time period. And there is a murder that takes place on an island that basically, we have a tiny island and Russia has a larger island, that they're both in the Bering Strait, and for 3 weeks out of the year, enough ice forms up there that it creates a bridge that connects the two islands and Alaska to Russia. So it's like there is a walkable bridge essentially of ice once again in those two places, from connecting those two places. And so somebody is murdered in, like, an American is murdered on the ice that connects between those two places, and the government is like, we have to send this FBI agent out, but they choose to send this man who's literally on like his last day, and they're like, well, according to your contract, we can expand your contract at any point in time, and so we're going to do that, and we're going to send you this place, but like, you can't, like, if you get caught on their side, we know nothing. And and we can't tell you how to work with the people there. We can't tell you what to do. And also, like, most people that go there don't come back alive, because it's so dangerous. And also, the way this person was murdered is insane. And so they have to go and figure out all of this stuff with all these obstacles. And it's already put so much into the book that, like, for first issue, you're like, this is more than we see in like 2 or 3 issues sometimes from these stories, because we got so much character growth. We understand like where he is in his career. We understand where he is in marriage. We understand who he is as a person and like how he's always approached his career. We understand like the world that we're going into, and yet we have no clue what that world is really going to be. Such a good story already. Cannot wait to see where this goes. And Simon just always brings really great storytelling to these books and builds these epic, universes. And so I cannot wait to see how that unfolds for sure as it continues to give us that dark mystery in action. Okay, that's all of them. Whew. Yay, I'm taking a drink of wine because we just made it through 85 books, everybody. Congratulations. If you're still there, thank you. 2 weeks worth of comics. Yay. Yeah, there you go. That's them. That is.
It doesn't even fit on the thing. That's not the whole thing.
Oh my gosh. Can I hold it up?
Yeah, maybe.
Can you see it if I hold it? Yay! 85 books. Woo! I'm going to give those to Matt. And then I'm going to tell you about some more books. But I'm going to do them in the lightning round style because this is the rest of the books that came out this week that you may have missed at your local comic shop and you need to check out. First is Catwoman 79 with this awesome Dan Panosian cover. Wonder Woman, Absolute Wonder Woman issue 12 came out this week. Detective Comics 1101. We are doing Hispanic Heritage Month covers. Immortal Legend Batman issue 2. Battle World #1 from Marvel. Batman Gotham by Gaslight League for Justice issue 3, Conan Scourge of the Serpent issue 1, DC vs. Vampire, World War V, Darkness and Light issue 1, Bad Moonrise, that's not issue 1. We're not on issue 1. Are we really? I don't think so. I think that's wrong. Either way. The Flash issue 25, Harley Quinn 54, Justice League Unlimited issue 10, Predator Black, White, and Blood issue 3, Spider-Man and Wolverine #5, Spider-Girl issue 4, which I can't believe we're already on 4 of that. That's coming out so fast. Star Wars The New Series issue 5, Superman issue 30 with his pumpkin spicy cover, Superman Unlimited issue 5, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles volume 3 issue 2, Mortal Thor issue 2, Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1, and Ultimate Hawkeye. We've got DC Comics. We've got Wonder Woman issue 25, and look at this Mark Spears cover with Wonder Woman looking all strong and cool. Don't ask me to show you the pumpkin spice cover for her because we don't have any more because it was too good. We've got Storm issue 12. We've got X-Men issue 22, Emma Frost, the White Queen issue 4. Blade Runner Black Lotus issue 1, and you do have to read the Blade Runner series that came before this. My Little Pony, The Sweetest Collection, one shot, and Sherlock Holmes, The Dark Detective, Knights of Frankenstein. This is issue 3. It says volume 2. It is volume 2 of the Sherlock Holmes thing. So as with all Sherlock Holmes, it's not the same case. So if you didn't read volume 1, it's okay because you're on a new case now. I just am behind and didn't get to finish that. And then we've got some trade paperbacks and graphic novels that are way over here. We've got Never Been Deader, which is the lifeless Carl and the not-so-sweet embrace of death, which sounds hilarious and amazing. We've got The Shadow Planet, which is the crew of the rocket Vidir land on a barren planet to rescue Lost Patrol, but what they find can destroy mankind. Bad things ensue a following. We've got Spawn, Battle for the Throne. This is collecting issues 338 through 343 of Spawn. This is the most recent, we're kind of around where we are in Spawn life. Little Visitor and Other Abductions. This is 3 tales of the unknown, cast and crew of an obscure film recount a tragedy that occurred during its doomed production. This is going to be something that I definitely want to open up and read. Look at that. Do you want me to open it? Do you want to see it? No. Okay. I was like, but Matt's like, Matt's like, I could see. Happy birthday! Could have waited and I could have done it at the end. Rare Flavors got a hardcover and it is beautiful. We've got the comic book history of the cocktail, which is awesome. If you want to know everything about how cocktails were invented and all the history being around all of that, you've got to check it out. Those comic book histories are the best. G.I. Joe, this is the silent missions combined into the new silent missions. Actually, it does have G.I. Joe number 21 in it. So it does have the Real American Hero 21 and then all of the new ones that came out. And then we've got the G.I. Joe book 2. This is collecting Scarlet 1 through 5 and Deathstroke 1 through 5. So there are 2 different covers. You can get either the Deathstroke cover or the Scarlet cover, which will give you all of those books from the new Energon universe. That's all I got. That's it. All of those, all the books in the whole wide world for the last 2 weeks. thank you again if you're still watching. We appreciate it. Thank you everybody for coming out for local comic shop this weekend, whether that was here or at your local comic shop. We really appreciate all the love and support that our community members give to comic shops. It's because of you that we can do things like read all of these comics and talk about them and have a fun time and build these community centers for you. So thank you for building them with us, everybody. Happy birthday, Anthony, who's sitting on the other side of this camera. Woo! Thank you for being here and hanging out with us and getting us a bottle of wine. That wasn't bad. And so we ended the night with a non-skunked bottle of wine, Paso, which is a Tempranillo. It's delicious. Thanks for hanging out with us and enjoying all that. We will see you at the shop for all of our October events. There are so many. Watch out for those. That calendar dropping tomorrow. We can't wait. It's going to be a ton of fun. Until then, we'll see you next week, and happy reading, everyone.